Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Creator Series WRC. We're here for the penultimate round of the season, and I'll tell you what, you're in for one heck of a treat, folks. It's Rally Portugal, and it's in the WRC 1 cars, mimicking real-life endeavours. I, for one, cannot wait to see how our creators handle the challenging terrains of Southern Europe. My name's Tom Knight in the booth, and alongside me, the wonderful John Harris, also known as Isaac Sickamusing.
Yeah, doing the job in the commentary box. It's fine. We will battle through the storms as they will battle through this rally. It's one of those things that Rally Portugal, a fan favourite, but I'd say one of the toughest rallies out there.
Oh, almost certainly is. It's one that I think our creators are really going to struggle with if they're not having any practice prior to this. They've got to try and attempt it with full force, especially in the cars. The hybrid systems, when they kick in, can be a real beast to tame.
Yeah, there's a lot of blind crests and rocks, and you just have to know the stages. Stage knowledge is key here, and I even saw drivers at Rally Portugal just looking at their phones, reviewing the footage. So it's as in real life, you have to just know where to commit, where to push flat out. And for people like Sebastian Ogier, they found the right rhythm. For people like Adrian Formo, it did not go well on the weekend. So yeah, for our drivers, they'll be hoping for smooth sailing, but Rally Portugal promises anything but.
Absolutely correct. We've got some of the finest drivers on the scene at the moment. They'll be all willing and able to try and get themselves in towards the firm grips that Rally Portugal requires. We'll have a look and see and check in with all of our drivers in the next few moments. We're about a minute away from stage start, and we have got some fantastic drivers. We've got Aerotech, Ancephalosis, B-Roy, Eli Punju Smith. We got JPH, Ryan L83, and Vlembar as well. So a real host of talent this evening.
Yeah, a lot of people struggling because we have videos of the shakedowns right now, and there are a lot of people going off left, right, and centre. So that's a good omen for this rally, isn't it? A lot of people will be wanting just to win the FAF stage. I think fan favourite that one. So we may have a mini battle just to win that one stage in the rally or any section of it that appears. So yeah, very, very tricky. And I'd say a rally of two halves. Really, you've got let's call them the old stages from the game release, which are quite narrow, and I'd say a lot of rocks and lines that you have to be careful of over the crests. And then you've got FAF, which is a lot more open toward the end of the stage, and where you really have to push the limits of the aerodynamics. So it demands quite a few driving styles, and it's a very, very complex one to get right. So our drivers will be fearing this one, but they'll also be enjoying it 100%.
I am really looking forward to seeing all of our creators descend it over that infamous hill in the FAF stage. We saw some dramatic scenes from the weekend and some absolutely picture-perfect moments as drivers were sending their cars off the edge of the hill. And I'm so glad it's been added to the game, which is always nice to see.
I will say, and this will be an annoyance to quite a few rally fans, that I did have the privilege of seeing the FAF end of stage with the jump. One thing that I never expected to see in rally, so there you go, sometimes your dreams do come true. But to see, especially Takamoto Katsuta, go absolutely sideways over the jump and nearly bin it at the end, spectacular. He got an award for it at the podium ceremony for the biggest jump over FAF, if I remember correctly. So there's one award that we might be giving away today as well. But yeah, very, very narrow roads, and always that opportunity to end the rally right at the end of the stage. You've got one last corner, but if you puncture a tyre or break the suspension, it can be game over for you.
I think it's absolutely right that we give an award for the biggest jump over FAF. I think a few of our creators will be willing and able and wanting to try and get that impromptu award as well, even if they're not 100% sure that we're even going to try and do it yet. But we'll see as it progresses. I'm sure as we have a chat to a few people going through the stages, the word will quickly spread amongst our creators, as it does tend to do. But I can confirm, I think we are moments away from getting ready and underway with our first runs of the evening. And let's have a look at the four-way split. We've got Ancephalosis, Punju, JPH, and B-Roy splitting our four-way grid at the moment.
Yeah, waiting for that stage start, and it looks like we're starting out with FAF, so straight away into the gritty stuff right now. And the drivers usually save this stage for last, but they will be on a flyer right from the get-go. A lot of drivers know this stage. It will probably be the one that's practiced the most. And so, a good way to start your event, via confidence and just committing to the corners afterwards might be little bit more difficult because once you know a stage well, you go to a different stage and then all of a sudden the rhythm is changed or a little bit off in terms of the timing. So it can be very technical. And I think B-Roy is the first one onto the stage, with Ancephalosis just about to follow. So yeah, B-Roy into, I think, the shakedown, actually, looking at that timer. So I think, yeah, both drivers starting their shakedown still. We've prematurely led up to the anticipation of Faf right there. I've built it up. Everybody's ready to go. Everybody's on the seat of their, on the edge of their seats. And yeah, false start, as they say. 10-second penalty for us commentators, I guess.
It's the premature anticipation of ancephalosis, which is what we've just experienced. But we now do get runs underway with JPH just starting off their run. I think Punju was moments away from getting going as well. JPH choosing the Ford Puma Rally 1 for this afternoon's endeavours and hoping to try and secure top spot in the round here this afternoon.
Yeah, a lot of people taking the Puma. It's quite a stable car, that's probably why. It doesn't give you too much understeer or oversteer. Not the best performing car, but you don't want overall performance, you want consistency on this rally, because one mistake can be devastating. So I'd say that's the safe choice. The Hyundai, and indeed the builder car, which I think Vlembar is in, are the outlandish choices of, I don't want to have a good rally, so I'm just going to take the car and bump off at some point in the rally.
Nah, the builder car is definitely the way to go. Don't fact check me on that, but it is a fan favourite amongst some of our creators. I think we've had it described as a Frankenstein car before, obviously a mixed match of parts and engines and everything else that you can accumulate over the course of the game, and it will be interesting to see how Vlembar does handle that, because you never know, he could pull a truly remarkable performance out of the bag. Punju started his stage, as has Ancephalosis, both of them early entries into the Faf Demon.
I'm fully convinced that Vlembar will be winning this one, because even though the builder car has better suspension than the kart I drove on the unofficial staff race for Rally of Portugal, I still think that Vlembar has what it takes on a very technical rally. He's got that knowledge, that experience that enables him to back off when he really needs to and then keep it committed. Whereas, the consistency of the drivers this season has been a little bit up and down. So especially toward the tail end of the season, I think we're going to see more drivers pushing, so there's more of an opportunity for a mistake as the points, get more critical as the season comes to its closing moments, and so you need to start thinking about that championship position. And with that battle for the top 5 being oh so close, it just means that you really, really have to be on board with it, and just going from stage 1 flat out.
Absolutely. One question that you might have just opened my mind to here. Obviously, you mentioned a little impromptu, unofficial kart race amongst the staff that were working at Rally Portugal. Please tell me you got to send the kart off the massive jump.
No, sadly, but I will say I went to one of the best karting tracks I've ever been to, and that makes a grand total of 2, which is interesting, as they say. But as we're having a little bit of problem with Vlembar's feed there, so I guess the builder car is creating some static that's hampering our ability to get the footage. There are technical difficulties. Really, really interesting circuit. One of the circuits used in the European Karting Championship, or was back in the day. And so, yeah, just full send. And I must admit, a lot of bumping and bashing as we tried to get ourselves into the top 10 for that one. Some of the staff might have needed a little bit of medical attention after it. Let's put it that way.
That's always the best way to kart race, in my opinion. The Thomas Ronha race. Just a little bit of bumping, rubbing is racing, and it's all love and at the end of the drive. JPH is sending this car through the hills of Portugal at the moment, probably not too far away from the iconic jump. B-Roy just starting off as well, choosing the Ford Puma as he makes his way through. Of course, we haven't seen B-Roy for a few weeks, so it's good to have him back. I believe he was on last week, if memory serves me correctly. Obviously, I wasn't around for the broadcast. So it's always lovely to see B-Roy back.
Yeah, one of the most passionate drivers. He's always got a lot to say, usually good stuff about the stages and about the way he's driving. So, be good to see him get a good result here. But, Rally Portugal throws up so many unexpected things that, to put money on the driver at this stage without even seeing the first times would be very, very bold of anybody. So, yeah, I love this rally, honestly. Just so much diversity, so many tricks and challenges they have to deal with. Most importantly, the tyre wear, actually, because this is a rally that just chews through the tyres. So you really have to be careful about how much you're risking the tyre strategy and basically trying to choose the right strategy from the get-go, because once you're locked in, there's not much you can do about it, and it can cost you 20-30 seconds at the end of the rally. So very important to have your head screwed on tactically at the start, I guess.
We've seen that time and time before where tyre choices and strategy really come and play into it, probably more than you think, as
Whoa!
Punja was on his side for half a minute there. Core, he looks more relaxed than I probably would have been if that Hyundai was only on, well, I'd say 2 wheels, but no wheels.
Yeah, that was really lucky going all the way up the bank. Thierry Neuville style, actually, like the Hyundai i20 in real life. Not sure if you guys saw that video where he was up the bank for a good 20 meters as well himself. So,
That it is looking rather stunning.
yeah, I wonder if he's gone for a rear engine build. For context, that thing would be quite undrivable. I remember Jam taking it in Safari a few rounds ago, and the suspension literally just compresses itself, and yeah, it's not exactly enjoyable to drive, but there you go. Vlembar wants a challenge, and he's being very I won't say sportsman-like this season of creating different challenges, trying to spice things up a little bit, and this is a very spicy move from Vlembar, that's sure.
Certainly is indeed. Looking rather smooth at the moment as we just turn the bomb. I've only just noticed the bomb the builder image for the builder card. Other cartoon builders are, of course, available. Aerotech making his way through nice and calmly as well. Approaching about halfway, just over halfway through the stage at the moment. Looking nice and focused and relaxed.
Yeah, this is the part of the stage where Aerotech's just going through. Vlembar's just about to start, where it's basically flat out all the way down to the valley, to the famous Conforco section with the junction with all of the spectators and fans. And I can tell you, just absolutely packed on Sunday it was. With people, it wasn't even dawn yet, and people were out there with all sorts of stuff. Chainsaws revving, but without the chain on it, they just take the engine and rev it up to make some noise. Air horns galore. I don't know how they have so much air canisters, but there you go. We sold a lot, basically. People up on homemade scaffolding, just teetering on the point of no return, as they say, and just loads of ad hoc discotheques, I guess, and rave parties and stuff like that. It was absolute scenes to see it. You've never seen anything like it. If you didn't know where you were, you'd think you were at a party rather than at a rally stage.
That's incredible. I always have known that the atmosphere and crowds at some of these events is absolutely stunning. As Vlembar sent off one of the massive jumps in the stage, that was perfection from the builder car.
Yeah, Vlembar really doing well. Smooth driving style, as you can see, just carrying the minimum amount of slip angle. That's what you need to do on a rally like this. Just keep it calm, cool, and don't use your tyres too much. Obviously, a lot of these stages have transitions between tarmac, cobblestones, sandy gravel, and indeed just a mix of all the above, I guess. And it can be very, very draining on both the driver having to react to the grip changes, but also the tyres, because they tend to overheat mid-stage and then you've got no grip toward the end, which if you've ever driven a Rally 1 car, you need that grip for the hybrid boost, which is probably going to be one of the most tricky things that they have to deal with today.
Absolutely. Of course, it's a little bit, I don't want to say temperamental, because that's probably not the word that I'd choose for it. But obviously, the minute you put your foot over the agreed threshold, that boost will go in pretty much until you brake. And even if you do brake right at the start, you lose all of that hybrid boost that you've charged up. So you've got to be really strategic in the moments that you deploy it, and actually be really careful not to go to full throttle at a moment that you don't want to deploy that boost.
I'd like to say here, hang on a second, I think Ryan is doing a really good job on this first stage. I think he's a few seconds up on Vlembar. We're going to have to check the times at the end of the stage. But Vlembar was exactly 5 minutes into the junction, so I think Ryan's going to be at least a couple of seconds up on the timing there. A little bit of a freeze in the footage as they dip down into the valley. But yeah, 58, so about 2 seconds up. So, oh, well, I say that, commentator's curse, and he's straight into the barrier.
Well, that is probably one of the cleanest commentators' curses that we've seen in a while, quite possibly, as you were complimenting, probably for just shy of a minute, and he does indeed tap one of the road signs, which isn't too uncommon. They are very dotted around, especially as you enter the road sections of the Portugal Rally. But yeah, just facing the wrong way and collecting one of them as well can only hamper his time.
Yeah, one thing you don't want to do is do that in real life, because the amount of fans taking videos and chanting and all of that, you will become history of that stage, as the recording will be shown for years to come if you crash there. So you don't want to be doing that for sure. Thankfully, our cameras are bit more forgiving, so yeah, he'll be able to reset after that one. But I think he'll be a little bit disappointed when he sees the times and see how close he was, indeed in front of Vlembar on that opening stage, which for Ryan, that is a really good pace, and I think he probably has targeted this one to be one of the rallies where he can attack at, because he's very in tune, I'd like to say, with the Rally 1 cars, so it's a good opportunity for him to get a lot of points.
Certainly is, and he's not a slow driver by any means. He's one of the creators that week in, week out will put in the consistent performances, but also will actually attack a stage if he feels like he has an amazing job of, let's say, coming towards the top of the standings.
Yeah, for sure. He gets a lot of motivation from, having confidence is the best way to describe it. And he's a driver that needs to have a smooth start to the rally to exploit it to the fullest. And I must admit, I'm a bit worried for him now that he's made that little mistake. He might lose a bit of the confidence. So we'll have to check over the next couple of stages whether... Well, quite simply whether or not he's still on pace or whether he's decided to back off a little bit. But definitely, I think he's targeting that battle for the championship lead. It's still possible and definitely within reach if Vlembar, and indeed, I must say, myself, have problems on this rally, which is highly likely.
Absolutely. It's close amongst all of our creators as we head in towards the final couple of rounds. One certain eyes amusing tops our standings with a good performance out at Pacifico. 18 overall, so second overall for our creators in both the power stage and the event total. Vlembar picking up maximum points last week, 25 and 5 respectively. But it does mean that Ryan L is only 61 points off the lead with 2 rounds to go.
Yeah, so mathematically, he needs to actually outscore both myself and Vlembar to remain in the championship. So, yeah, that's pressure on, actually. And Encephalos is a little tap of the wall there. You don't want to be doing that, especially seeing as you're just going to a service. So you don't want to pick up huge amount of damage just before getting there. But it looks like he got away with it. The car bouncing a little bit, so maybe a bit of suspension damage, but not too bad, as we've got Vlembar just getting ready to start that stage. So yeah, drivers motoring through these stages already. They're eager, it has to be said.
He absolutely is. He's got an opportunity now to try and, claw back some crucial points. Obviously, he's, as we're saying, I thought there's only 2 rounds to go. Actually, there's 3 rounds to go, including Portugal, here this afternoon. So they will have that extra round as Encephalosis finds the bushes. And that will, let's be a little bit of a hamper rather than a helper.
Yeah, the temptation to cut there is really, really tempting, and sometimes it can be just one of those things where you go, so we got a little bit of desync between the camera and the driving, which means that he was driving and sipping a drink as he goes on, which is very cool. You know, the ability to do that escapes me. So if he can do that while on stage, credit to him.
Absolutely, it's a unique skill, one that you seem to develop over the course of, I won't say many years of sim racing, but also potentially real life driving as well. JPH crosses the line as well for himself, and it looks like Vlembar, has he started stage 2 already?
Yes, from what I can see from the split bar, yes, that is stage 2. It's the reverse of Morera del Rey, which means that is the end of FAF, so yes. By my calculations, this is indeed stage 2. And you can see the problem with the builder car is sliding around a lot. Traction is really, really difficult, especially on the rear end. So you have a lot of turning, but you have to be wary of the car sliding because essentially you're really, really on the limit every single time. And I tell you what, Ryan is really attacking these stages. He's neck and neck with Vlembar right now on stage 2.
I wonder if that's Ryan has really come to a new lease of life over the last few weeks. He's looked to have found his rhythm, I think, a lot more, and maybe found some comfort. Obviously, had a slight hiccup earlier at those road signs, to be quite specific, but alas, manages to get past them rather successfully this time around. And you can see the focus in his eyes that he is focused on the road ahead of him and pretty much nothing else around him. Everything is flowing in perfect harmony, like a proper symphony.
Yeah, he's very, very committed to the corners. And you can see his technique has evolved a lot over the course of the season. He's actually power sliding the corners and using a little bit the Scandinavian flick before the corners to get the car rotated. So this is what I'd call a really solid drive for the moment, and I can't wait for the commentator's curse to happen within the next 2 corners. But there you go. On that bombshell, I'm going to stop complimenting him before he goes into another problematic part of the stage. And, oh, I thought he was going to go way wide then, but very, very, well, a good recovery into that slow section. But over the jump, he's got that car set up really, really well. And no hint of a bounce on such a large jump. That is really what you want to have happening.
Absolutely. You can see there was a little sigh of relief there for half a second as he just kind of sorted himself out. And I think the camera's probably a little bit delayed compared to the Twitch stream. Obviously, the different collection methods in which we collect streams and cameras. So that could be why it looks like he's not driving as the camera still comes across the line, at least for himself. He'll be relieved to have made it. And I think by assurance that he has.
They're just so good. They don't need to look at the screen. You know, that's just the level of creators that we have now. They can drive blind.
They just have to listen to their co-driver, and essentially, the co-driver is so accurate in this game that they know.
Yeah, definitely no listen to my calls, Samir. That's definitely for sure. Yeah, definitely, especially on Portugal, some of the objects on the inside of corners are very well called out, and so you don't go running into a rock. Especially on this stage, this is very accurate, the one that Punju's driving now. I failed to remember the name, maybe it's Hervidero, but maybe I should get RaceNet up. My brain is lagging more than usual today, which is actually quite interesting, because I didn't think it could lag any more, to be honest.
Well, it will start to lag more as you try and pull up RaceNet. It doesn't like us sometimes, from what I remember.
The numbers, Mason, what do they mean?
Exactly that. I have pulled it up. Stage 3, Viana do Castelo.
I'll take your word for it. Sounds good.
I apologise to any Portuguese that I have truly offended by the pronunciation of your words. I hope you're ready for 10 more stages of it.
Sounds like me doing commentary on the service park of Rally Portugal on Saturday evening. Very accurate. No, definitely not. Look, to be honest, it's actually really great. I will say this, really great that the WRC sees potential in the world of sim racing. And, you know, I give them credit. They were actually really behind the project and put serious effort into supporting us. So the public showed their appreciation just by the fact that they kept on returning. We had so many people on the simulators. I know I'm sort of tooting my own trumpet here a little bit, but we had so many people show up for the simulators. We had, at least officially, that signed up 500 people that must have returned at least 4 or 5 times each on the simulators over the first 2 days. So God knows what happened on the last 2 days, but yeah, incredible numbers, and it just shows the appetite for a sim racing game in Rally as well.
Just to backpedal ever so slightly, obviously there's a few of us that might have seen the stories and what you were doing. For those folks that are just tuning in and aren't necessarily aware of what you did this weekend, talk us through it, man, because it looked like an amazing weekend.
Yeah, well, what can I describe? Because technically I was recruited for one job and I ended up doing like 6 separate jobs. So, the main event was setting up simulators for the fans to enjoy at the service park, really. We had 6 simulators with EA Sports WRC, with an ultra-wide screen like you saw in the last grand finals of the WRC. So people really got the full immersion of experience playing Rally Portugal. And then we had qualifiers, a little bit in the format of Creator Series, actually, with a little bit shorter format, 4 to 5 stages, where the 6 best times basically went towards a grand final, which we held on Saturday. So yeah, it was a really cool event. Got to see, and I'm realizing I'm making a lot of people jealous by saying this, but got to give them a shout out, I guess. We got to tour the service park with Hyundai M Sports and Toyota, where I nearly got my staff badge removed for asking too many questions, which is fair enough. I do admit I pushed the boat a little bit, but I was trying to get a confirmation that Hyundai would appear next year, but the point was made well clear that I shouldn't be asking that type of question. So there you go.
Well, you don't ask, you don't get quite often. But well, did you get an answer to whether Hyundai are appearing next season?
No, no, I did not.
Damn. Well,
would you believe?
Later on.
They were very tight-lipped about that. Would you believe? Yeah, it's understandable. They've got a lot of reputation to uphold, but they were certainly very. It was actually really interesting to get feedback from like mechanics and drivers from the lower categories. Sadly, we didn't have anybody from Rally 1 show up. They had such a busy schedule and such long days that they basically gave up on any other events. But yeah, we had loads of people driving the simulators and saying that the feeling is so close to reality. So it was really nice to see that. And I will say it once again, Rally Portugal, the fans are absolutely crazy, but in a good way. They are so enthusiastic. They are willing to wait 5 minutes to hop on a simulator, and it's very difficult to prize them off the simulator actually once you get them on there.
Well, I think, as you said earlier, there is demand and there is intrigue for a rally game, isn't there? Especially to the level in which we see it at the moment. And I came into rally as a relatively new fan just at end of last year. Realistically, when we started doing this series, actually now I do sit and watch the highlights, and I've started to get into that world a lot more, where I want to learn about it, and I really find it fascinating.
Yeah, that jump by Aerotech fully flat out over the Hervidero or Viana del Castello jump. That is one of the places where you have to commit or not, because if you chicken out, you can have so many bad things happen all at once. And on this stage as well, you can see the real difference in change of surface. We're going onto cobblestones in the village from JPH's perspective, and just going down the mountainside from Aerotech's perspective earlier on in the stage. And that is what makes this rally special. That's what makes the fans' perspective of this rally special, is that it challenges you in every single way possible. And I think that's why so many people show up, because no matter where you stand on the stages, no matter where you go, you are guaranteed a good experience from the cars just driving normally through the stages. There's so much commitment, such low grip. It's a unique experience.
It really seems. I've driven the stages a couple of times, albeit rather badly, just wanted to do the faff jump as many times as I possibly can in various cars. And it's a rally that seems rather tolling, both physically but also mentally as well, because it comes at you so fast even, that you almost don't have time to process the cool jumps, the cool moments, the views as well, which are spectacular, before you're suddenly hit with your co-driver yelling at you that you've got a really tight corner coming your way.
Yeah, Ryan very committed here. Oh, just clipping the bushes. I think he had to back out of that one a little bit, but he's definitely taking all of the racing lines. We got Vlembar as well. Looks like Vlembar's managed to gain a couple of seconds in that opening section. So the battle on still, but advantage Vlembar at the moment in the builder car. That is more than impressive, it has to be said. And they're going to be hard pressed to battle. Oh, Aerotech, big mistake, big roll, crashing, literally clipping the bank, and over she goes. And that is not what you want to see on one of the fastest sections downhill of the stage, just clipping the bank as soon as you approach this village section. And oh yeah, it's going wrong more and more. The tires are overheated, your confidence is gone, and you have to now just recover, back off and recover, because otherwise your rally's going to be ending way sooner than you hope.
It's almost like you're in a circuit car, you've had a bit of a spin, your tyres are overheating, you've just got to back off, but everything in the back of your head's going, I've lost time, I need to try and make that up. And it's that real battle over heart versus mind as to which one you want to essentially prioritise. Are you going to look after the car, or are you going to look after your runtime?
Oh, Ryan into the rocks as well. He just messed up the braking zone there, and that's given a big advantage to Vlembar now to the tune of maybe 4 seconds by my calculation. But yeah, just locking up on the downhill, not getting the car rotated. And that means he's going to carry some damage on what I think is stage 3. Yeah, definite damage on that car, bottoming out there. So maybe the ride height set a little bit low. But yeah, definite, confidence. I think he's going over here. He's going to have to correct. Yeah. Oh, just all the way, all over the place. That is what happens on Rally Portugal. You're just trying to look for grip. As you said, you're trying to gain back time, and it just isn't there. You've just got to accept that you've lost it. And for Ryan, every single time he's trying to push, he's losing more and more and more.
Certainly is, and it hasn't been the way that he wants to try and run it. It looks like he was trying to recover that time, and we mentioned in multiple broadcasts gone by, it's that moment that the more you lose time, the more you want to push the car, and actually as a result of that, you end up losing probably even more time in doing so. So you've got to just back off, sacrifice a couple of seconds, but let the car get back to that neutral state where you can then afford to run it hard again.
Yeah, for sure. And I think on such a short stage like this, you're better off taking the time penalty of backing off and then just going at it again on the next stage. Do a little bit of a mental reset. B-Roy, I think this is the exact same section as where Ryan crashed. Indeed it is. Just going over the inside. Indeed, Aerotech crashing there as well. So that section has caught out 3 drivers of our total Creator Series drivers, and that is a crazy statistic for just a section of roads that is seemingly not too difficult, but it's the little details that catch you out.
Certainly is, especially in a rally like this. So we see Aerotech there. Just looking times down, Cephalos is 43rd. Aerotech was 48th. Just trying to see if I can spot any of our other creators. Or Becky B for half a split second just before he scooted away from it. There we go, 26th. For Becky B, another name that some Creator Series WRC fans will recognise as well. So a lot of drivers up there within the top 50.
Yeah, a lot of drivers very committed to these stages, and it's one where you can get yourself in the top 50 just by being consistent, really. The time differences are quite high, as we saw during the actual Rally Portugal, and I think with the degradation set low on the stages as well, the grip levels are quite a bit down on what they could be if you had a little bit of stage degradation. It's actually very interesting to see the real life rally stages, because the ruts that form have like a double sword scenario going on. If you stay in the ruts, you have a lot of grip, but if you go outside of the ruts, you have exactly no grip. So it's kind of like one of those things where you can go faster, but it requires more commitment and more experience. Punju just clipping the rocks a little bit there, getting away with it, but that adds to the trepidations and to your feeling of uneasiness on the stage.
Hasn't been, well, the easiest. Obviously, we now approach into dusk and sunset that Punju has in set. Like, let's just put this out there, because obviously, if you even may not be aware, Punju designs the runs for our creators. He has set this up for himself. So he knows exactly what's coming, and if he complains that it's evening or if it's dark, he's got only himself to blame here.
Yeah, quite literally. He's the one doing all of the lifting in the background, let's say, with the tough decisions on the rally routes, and especially in Portugal with so many good stages. I'm sure there's one of them that he's had to miss out, and is quite annoyed at doing that. But yeah, the sunset and weather conditions, they're really, really representative of what it is in Portugal. Changing weather all the time. Now, one of the things that I have noticed is that there is a bit of rain on the radar, and actually quite a bit of rain on the radar toward the end of the rally. So our drivers might have a sting in the tail for the moment.
I hadn't seen that. Yeah, I just had a look. It's heavy rain from stage 6.
That's what RaceNet is for. We've completely forgotten it as commentators tonight. Myself being the primary one to forget completely about RaceNet. But yeah, it does contain some very useful information, as you would know probably as a driver in EA Sports WRC. But yeah, there you go. A little bit of a surprise for us in the commentators box. So that does influence tyre strategy, and it does influence what you're going to do. And I think actually for Vlembar, it can be a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because the speeds will be a little bit lower, which means that you won't have that unpredictableness of the builder car. and so maybe it might go in his favour. But then again, Ryan in the Toyota will have a very good opportunity to gain some times back with the superior aerodynamics.
Absolutely. We'll see how it all progresses. For now, I think our drivers will be focused on the dry conditions. And Cephalosis almost losing the car, just managing to recover that in a rather masterful fashion. Does carry on the straight and narrow. I've noticed Punju's got a little Red Bull just sat further down to his right. And I'm sure he'll be using that at some point, trying to keep himself alert and awake for the stages that are coming. Yeah, Tim, I say that! That nose of the car was scraping amongst the gravel.
Oh, that was very, very lucky. You have to commit to that one and just pray and hope that nothing bad happens, but that was very close. But he's making quite a few comments on that, and I think he'll be feeling very, very lucky that he's avoided any major damage on that one. We've seen a lot of situations where the bonnet pins can come unstuck and then the bonnet flies up in your face and you can't see anything, which on a rally like Portugal, you can't see the stages already from in the car. So it's even more difficult if you've got no visibility whatsoever.
Absolutely. I think Punju will have been praying for whatever lucky stars that he has that bonnet did not become dislatched, especially as we head in towards the dusk in the evening. We've got, I think, sunset at the moment. We've got night coming up, and Cephalosis once again finding that car sideways. I wonder if he's having some issues with that Ford Puma that we aren't necessarily aware of.
I think it can be also just pushing the limits. If you put the outside rear wheel on the grass, you can just run out of grip effectively. So maybe he's gone for a different tire strategy, going for the softer compound as he gets a 5-second penalty. Very, very easy to do, and I think he'll be a bit frustrated with that one. But I think we will see signs of fatigue from the drivers at some point, because this is a very intense rally. 1 or 2 stages and your head is already giving you a headache from the amount of details that you have to look at, the amount of reactions you have to have. It's a very intense rally, and even if I'm thinking back to the Group B days, it was the one that the drivers wanted to win, but also were Punju getting it all wrong into the downhill section, crashing into the rocks, and trying to do a little bit of Austin Powers reenactment right there, but he's got back underway. I don't think any major damage, just a little bit of ego damage, crashing in a town section, so with a lot of spectators. Yeah, I think this is a sign that the tyres are on their last legs, with a lot of people saving tyres until the rain section, basically.
You say that as Ancephalosis has taken an almighty trip through the grass, almost getting reset to track there, narrowly avoiding it, but he does get, I was about to say he got a penalty there, but it's the game warning him that he's driving the wrong way and almost inversing another reset or a disqualification, I think that would have been. But I think you're right, tyres are well and truly on their way out. They are starting to suffer with lack of grip, and they'll be begging and praying to get to the end of this stage. I think it's one of the longest on our run at the moment, 16.7 kilometres, if memory serves me correctly. I think it is the longest of the runs. Yeah, it is the longest run that we have over the 13.
Yeah, and with the stages being on average about 5 minutes in Portugal, this one might be one of the longer rallies of the season, so a lot of endurance needed, especially if you've got damage on the car and you've broken those headlights, because you know, thankfully at the end of this one we're going into a service, but headlights is often something that you sacrifice to repair suspension, the aerodynamics, and so drivers will have to be reminded of the fact that they're going into excuse me, night stages. My apologies. I tried to mute my microphone. It didn't happen.
That's all right. We're all suffering, I think, a bit this evening. But yeah, as you were saying, headlights are going to be absolutely critical. I think we have got two stages at dusk and then night, respectively. Obviously, the light rain starts in the night stage, and we go to heavy rain in the morning in stage 7. So it's going to be critical that drivers get those repairs correct in the way that they want to run these, because obviously, yes, they may sacrifice a little bit of engine performance or a little bit of aerodynamics, but not being able to see where you're going, I think, could be a greater detriment to a few of our drivers.
A lot of people underestimate the speed of Rally Portugal. If you're looking at the gears, as B-Roy has got radiator damage, which is not going to be very good for repairing the engine and stuff. You want to try and keep your car as alive as possible, as they're only on stage 4, as all the way up the bank goes B-Roy, manages to save it with that suspension from the Rally 1 cars, but they're pushing the limit a little bit there, as JPH goes up the bank as well. As you're seeing, a lot of people are just really struggling on these stages, and what I was going to say is a lot of people underestimate the speed of this rally. Third gear corners most of the time, many corners are flat out, so aerodynamics are actually a must-have for this rally, maybe even over engine powers in some circumstances.
Absolutely, it's going to be an interesting balance of, I want to say, technicalities is probably the best way of looking at it. Which sort of element of the car do you prioritize, especially when it comes to damage, repairs, and obviously tuning in the next stages? Tyres as well are going to be absolutely critical, because I think we've got one more stage where it remains dry.
Well, B-Roy.
Yeah, stage 5.
Yeah, B-Roy all the way up the bank once again. He's getting very lucky, but that luck will run out. That's one certainty in Rally Portugal. But yeah, the rain is fast approaching, and they've got one stage, as you said, but then it gets really, really difficult. Light rain at night. Oi, oi, oi. Heavy rain in the morning. Oh, dear Lord. It just doesn't stop after that, let's put it that way.
Doesn't stop until, I think, I was having a look.
Last 2 stages.
Final 2 stages, yeah. So at least the power stage will be dry for a few of our creators, but I don't think there'll be as much of a relief as they would have been hoping for.
I'm sure they're very happy that the power stage is dry at this stage in the rally. They're definitely not thinking about surviving until the power stage. I know for me, I'd be just trying to keep some tyres alive for the power stage, but the overall result is really important in this one, because it's a rally where you can profit from the mistakes of other people if you're slightly behind in the championship. So as Ryan goes for a really big spin all the way up the bank and has managed to keep it alive somehow. He's dodged all of the rocks there and got away scot-free. So his artistic rallying interpretation this rally is something, but definitely is losing time, sadly, for Ryan. And I think he might be a little bit frustrated now on that one.
I think he certainly will be. It hasn't gone the way necessarily that he would have been hoping for. We saw a few instances earlier kind of coming together to not, combine to make the greatest of endeavours. But I think looking back overall, they'll be happy with the performance. B-Roy narrowly avoiding the edge of the cliff there.
That was a heart-in-mouth moment, wasn't it? Just all the way, just crossed up and like no grip, it seems, doesn't it? And it's still got no grip. He's still off the road a little bit. I wonder if there's some sort of serious damage on the car. Maybe he's lost the rear wing, because that car is not handling correct whatsoever.
Doesn't appear to be, and not the way that they want it to be operating nonetheless. But we will keep an eye on all of our drivers. B-Roy was reversing there? Was there a little bit of contact there? I didn't see.
Yeah, I think he hit the inside wall, and he's hit the parapets, or the let's say stones that protect the side of the road there. So very tricky section here on the cobblestones. You want to be in a low gear, but you can't really do that because you just spin up the tires and the steering goes in a random direction. So you just have to compromise a little bit. Otherwise, you lose a lot of time if you have a crash. And B-Roy, I think, is just focusing on getting through the stage now, hopefully to some repairs. But yeah, that car is not looking in good order, let's put it that way.
Not having the best of times out there at the moment. I think he would have been hoping for maybe a slightly better run through the rally, but I think everyone is starting to find that moment where I want to say life is catching up with them, but also Rally Portugal is catching up with them.
Yeah, it is indeed, certainly. And I'm just noticing something. Vlembar's had a mistake here somewhere, because he's significantly behind where Ryan is, and Ryan is on the same time as Vlembar. It looks like he's checking some damage or something, checking what's going on. I don't think he's looking at a replay, but yeah, it's not going well for Vlembar. I'm not sure whether he does this throughout this section just to get a better view of what the car is doing over these crests, but he's obviously not confident about something, because I know he likes driving interior cam. But maybe Ryan is pushing him that much that he feels the need to take as much advantage as he can get.
Quite often we do see Vlembar test, or not testing something unique, but running maybe a different factor just to see how it goes. And as you said, the undulations that we're seeing in Portugal could force his hand. Yeah, switch back to interior cam now. So I wonder if it's just for those peaks and troughs that we were seeing, just gives him a little bit of extra viewpoint for the cars in front.
Yeah, the visibility in the Rally 1 cars is basically non-existent over jumps, so you've just got to commit to it. And I think Vlembar's taken the choice of just driving through that bit. It will sort of throw him off in terms of his driving lines unless he's practiced it. So yeah, I think there's been some story here at some point, and I'm trying to figure out, because I didn't see any damage on the car, so maybe it was just a reset penalty or something, but something's gone wrong clearly for Vlembar.
Yeah, I say that as he's off into the trees. Was very briefly anyway, and I wonder if that could be an extension of the damage that he had, or maybe the issues that he's facing. It could be something completely external to the game as well. Let's not rule that out of contention. Sometimes we do see some of our creators with hardware issues that can kind of force an issue, and especially because Vlembar, controller player, quite renowned controller player, stick drift could be a factor.
Yeah, one of the fastest controller players that I know of in any game, really. Just so committed, so neat on the lines, and you can see every single corner he's just on that limit, finding that limit, and just doesn't really care about the risks, because he thinks it's all under control, and 99% of the time it is under control. So very tricky for him this rally, I must say. Maybe that builder car is starting to show a few signs of problems with that suspension.
I think that could be the issue that he is starting to face, because he switched again to the exterior cam, and it doesn't look like this would be a typical tricky section where you'd have to try and use it for the undulations, the ups and downs. But again, I'm not a rally driver. I wouldn't necessarily know. Maybe Isaac, you could probably give us a bit of insight. Is this a stage that is typically harder to see?
Yeah, this one has a lot of crests in it, and I think all of the old school stages in the game has just so many more dips and tricky things to catch you out, like rocks on the apex and stuff. And for FAF, it's a bit more of an open stage where you've got forest areas and banks, but you can carry a lot more speed. On the other Portugal stages, like the one we're doing right now, you have to be so careful, and you just have to... I know I keep using this word, but be consistent, because it's so true. We found that out indeed on Saturday in Portugal, because all of our competitors in the final had at least one major crash. So, you know, it happens to the best of the drivers in here.
Certainly does. You got to be on your A game all throughout this rally, because the slightest of wrong moments can quite often catch you out. And there's massive boulders and rocks off to the left-hand side. We just saw on Vlembar's screen there. You can see just he passes by it, but that would for sure be a DNF if you went head-on into that at a considerable amount of speed.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lucky sort of save there, because all it takes is one little nudge of the suspension or whatever, as just going across the line, literally just clipping a few rocks there. Yeah, I think he'll be very happy to get through this one, but I think a significant amount of time lost, it must be said. I'm just going to try and get the stage times up, if, once again, RaceNet will allow me to. We have... Ryan at 83, 14th on that stage. I do not see Vlembar's time at the moment, unless he's got some... I do see Vlembar's time. He's 1 minute 20 second down on that stage. So Ryan... Yeah, Ryan's gained like 20, 30 seconds. We can hopefully get him in for an interview.
Let's get Vlembar in for a bit of a chat, just to see exactly what happened. Vlembar, we saw at the end of the stage there, or at least the most recent stage that you did, there was quite a few times you were switching the camera around, trying to go to the external to the internal camera once again, but also looking at the stage time, about a minute and a half down from what we saw. Was there something off with the car, or was there an incident that we missed?
Yeah, so regarding the different perspectives, basically, it's just a problem. Like the bonnet kept rising after I clipped the stone banking, and it was a bit distracting. And yeah, basically the third person view helped me in like a few corner combinations. Regarding my driving, basically, it's just I'm trying a different strat. Like, as you can see, I'm using a builder car, so went for the crazy car here basically, and also doing a crazy tire strat. I used mediums for the first 4. Now I'm going hards for the next 8, and got one more medium set for the power stage. But yeah, the tires were done at the beginning of stage 4.
Is there a reason why you're opting for that? Is it just out of curiosity to try? And how much different is the driving of that builder car on gravel?
Yeah, it's quite different to what it was in Iberia. Yeah, on tarmac, it's I would consider it basically equal to the other cars. Gravel, it's quite the opposite. I think it's very bad. There's a few corners that I know from the top of my head that, like I, for example, even with max ride height, cannot cut or clip at any point, which the others can take without any problem. And yeah, in general, the handling is not too bad. It's just the car itself is not optimal for gravel rallies.
And the
Yeah,
tires, are you worried about the tire wear in the wet weather?
I mean, the strat is not the best, obviously, but I'm trying to have some fun here. It is quite a challenge, I have to say. So I'm not bored in that sense. So yeah, we'll see. I think for like the first 4 or 5 stages, it will probably be good, and then it's I assume gonna be like the same, which I had on the last stage, where they just gone and there's no grip. And yeah, obviously that in the wet weather, it's gonna be interesting, I'm gonna say.
I think it certainly will, and we wish you probably the best of luck for the wet weather conditions, because I think you're probably a few moments out. I don't have the run times up, unfortunately, but I think you're a few moments off from getting started. So we will wish you the best of luck with it, and hopefully the bonnet causes no further issues.
I'm sure you're gonna have something to enjoy watching.
Probably. Thank you so much.
That's ominous.
See you.
Very ominous, that is. Yeah, when Vlembar says something's going to happen, usually that means that he's not fully confident about what he's doing. So a little bit, Vlembar, maybe, maybe an opportunity for Ryan, actually, is the way I'll put it. You know, he's I think, taken the lead of the rally. I will check, in terms of the Creator Series standings, I mean. He is indeed in 14th place overall, and Vlembar is 21st. So Vlembar still in P2. But the gap is 25 seconds, approximately. So that's quite a bit of time to pull back.
That's a considerable chunk of time to pull back, especially with the caliber of creators that we've got at the moment. That's going to be an almighty challenge to try and do a punch. You go slightly wide there, almost ended up in towards the barrier. But I must admit, the amount of times I forget that I'm watching him actually racing on 3 screens, it's so immersive, his setup.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to test a motion rig that they had at the service park, and I must admit, the just sense of speed and feeling of speed that you get from the triple screens is something else. And ironically, I actually set a faster time on the triple screen setup than I did on our ultra wide monitor. So you know, it was kind of like an eye-opening thing for me, where I was like, hey, hang on, this gives me such a better sense of how fast I'm going, how much grip the car has, that actually, even though you have a bit of a performance hit, you can turn that into a performance gain for you as a driver, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, from what the specs, and I think I've said this before a couple of weeks ago, 3 48-inch 4K monitors running on a 5080, which is just insane. But yeah, as I say, I forget that I'm watching, because that steering wheel is physical, obviously, and his gloves and his legs and everything like that. But it looks like you're sat in a car, and I get how and why people want it to look like that, because it's just insane.
There's one statistic that I want to know from Punju, his electricity bill, because I can only imagine that room is just a furnace at the moment.
Yeah, he's got 3 air cons actually running in there just to try and keep it timid.
Right. big incident for B-Roy, just clipping something. I think he's trying to recover a little bit now, but yeah, very, very off into the scenery, as they say. He's back on the road now, but he was really struggling to get some grip, and I think maybe he's tried to continue on the tyres. That's a bit of a bold one, especially with the next stage being in rain, but yeah, our content creators being so taken aback by the complexity of these stages.
I think a few maybe are in for a bit of a shock and awe when they start to encounter the wet weather as well, because that will be an entirely new multiplier that they've got to try and deal with. We see as JPH just scrolling through the leaderboard, trying to find not only their name, but the names of some of their compatriots as well. Just checking up on how everybody's done. Who's top of the timing? We didn't quite manage to catch it there, unfortunately. Seeing how B-Roy's developing as well. Manages to go rather smoothly, about halfway through the stage for himself.
I would guess the top of the leaderboard is probably a dominant Mehuyane. Yes, it is indeed. A very, very fast driver. He's just on top of his game at the moment, which I feel bad for drivers that are on top of their game, because they've kind of been left in the dry at the moment, but such is life, as they say. But they're demonstrating their potential, and I'm sure that it will continue into other categories or different games, or indeed a successor to this WRC game at some point. But yeah, definitely putting the world alight, basically, with the times, and everybody scratching their heads as to how they can get... And oh, Aerotech going the wrong way on the junction, just missing that completely. I think he was already turning for the, I think it's a 5 right over crest, so... yeah, the pace notes are really tricky on this one. And downhill on this tarmac section, he'd be better off holding third gear, just to get a little bit more traction. First gear is very brave.
There's a few, I don't want to say questionable choices, because I guarantee they know more than I do, especially with the rally at the moment, because I'd be looking at the run that Aerotech's doing, seeing that all the walls are so close by, I'm probably having a mini panic in my seat as he does the exact same thing that Punju did just a few moments ago, just slides wide at that right-hander. I think it was almost maybe just a lack of grip on the cars.
Certainly looks like it. You know, you're still on that cobblestone street, which is basically just dust at this point. So as soon as you start braking, if you haven't got the car slowed down for that junction, you're going to go wide and off the road. And that is basically a 4 to 5 second time loss, because you have to reverse to make the corner. So very, very tricky. But then again, it's better to take a time loss than to take serious damage, as you need those headlights into the next stage, that's for sure.
Absolutely. There's lots to try and navigate, as we see now, the wet weather conditions in the nighttime. Everyone's hardware, graphics, CPU will be taking an absolute battering at the moment as it tries to show every single thing that's happening on the screen. I pray for Jam's PC if we ever go to the 4-person in the night in the dark, because I guarantee that will make his room be like a bit of sauna as well.
Yeah, very, very tricky to get all of the footage from this rally. Just the rally takes its toll in every single level, it must be said. You know, it's one of those ones that a lot of people dread to run, and very popular among the Portuguese. If you look at the leaderboards, they are all over this rally, but the international representation, they do love the rally, but they kind of treat it as one they have to survive, basically, and just take in all of the fans, take in all of the you know, the atmosphere of the rally, and accept that they might not get the result that they're looking for.
It's incredible to see how all of our creators, both in real life and obviously the drivers, creators virtually, and of course our drivers in real life, handle different rallies. And obviously, Portugal fan favourite in amongst the grid. It's just fascinating to watch.
Yep, sorry, mid-coughing spree for me there, no worries. Commentary is very simple to do. But yeah, it's one of those things where you have to, again, settle into a new rhythm, is what I'd say. Now, you've done the I don't want to call it the easy part, because it's definitely not. So you have to just accept now that you've got a different circumstance with the tyres, with the grip on the road, with the rain, and you now have to settle into a pace where you're driving at 90% comfortably. And for most drivers, they really don't want to do that, because effectively, you know, it messes up their lines, it messes up their braking points, and it can end up with you losing so much time that it wasn't worth it, basically. So you'll see a mixed strategy of people pushing. I think JPH is pushing, probably it looks like it. My god, he's all over the place right now. Can he recover it? Yes, he can. Very lucky to recover it. Or big skill, I'd say, actually, to recover that. Because once you get a tank slapper going on wet gravel, like, it's so tricky to recover. But yeah, Ancephalosis going fast in this stage as well. We don't have the timing available for them. And actually, we have 3 drivers on basically the same set of, the same bit of road here, would you believe? So it'll be interesting to see their lines through this one.
Yeah, the different twists, the different turns they're all opting to take as well. That some of that could be, I don't want to say dictated by the level of detail they're running individually, but of course, if drivers are choosing, that we quite often see in foggy conditions, the fog turned off, particles turned off, could dictate a different line just because they don't have to worry about those weather elements bothering them. But it looks at the moment that everyone's running a fairly similar sort of setup with Aerotech. Couldn't see anything for about half a moment there as we headed through the river.
Yeah, they're very tricky, and especially if they start losing their lights or having problems where they start getting damage. You know, if you lose visibility, you're basically driving blind here in the rain, and that is, I don't want to say rally ending, but it can be where you lose 2-3 minutes a stage, basically having to back off here, there, and everywhere. And especially on this tarmac section at the end of this stage, so tricky to keep it on the road with the gravel tire spinning up effectively on the tarmac, and they will be very relieved to throw it, send it all the way over the jump, hopefully with no damage. And Punju, yeah, landing that correctly, awesome stuff. Ancephalosis making it to the stage as well. JPH sending it. Yeah, he's had a little bit of an impact on there. I think we saw that one, but the light's still working, thankfully.
Thankfully for him, and I think he'll be thanking his lucky stars as he wants to continue through this rally, that is still the situation, because they've got quite a few more night stages to go, at least 1 or 2 more, I think, to manage out. Obviously, you've had rain, and it's only going to get heavier from here on in.
Yeah, for sure. And what that means is that drivers are going to have to, again, pick what stages they know and what stages they're confident on, because they're going to have to play a mixed strategy of backing off and then going for it, trying to put people under pressure. You know, for Vlembar, for example, as we just transition to Vlembar and Ryan, they'll be wanting to go flat out now to try and force each other into a mistake. You know, Ryan's got a 25-second lead, but he can easily let that go in a few moments if he starts having crashes, and so Vlembar will be aware of that. But then again, Vlembar will be aware that JPH is quite close behind, I think a gap of 15 seconds, so if he makes a mistake or gets too many penalties, then we could see a position change there as well. So provisionally, your top 3 are Ryan, then Vlembar, then RCJPH, in quite close succession for this type of rally. So it's game on for the moment, as they say.
Certainly is, and we'll see how it all manages to go through. We're only about halfway through this rally as well. Would you believe it? It feels like it's been considerably longer. Through the water splash goes Vlembar as well. Just nicely navigated for the moment. The builder car looking to respond rather nicely to that, but has got his work cut out in the rest of the stage still. It's a long few stages. We said this earlier, that it doesn't feel, obviously you've got 5 kilometers, 7 kilometers, 8 kilometers, kind of one after another rather rapidly.
You don't get that sense of rhythm in a rally like this. There's a lot of uphill and downhill where 1 minute you're pressing the throttle all the way up the hill. You don't have to worry about braking too much. The next minute you're going back down the hill and you have to brake very much at every single corner. And so to develop a rhythm, to develop confidence, especially in rainy conditions, and dare I say even at night, it's one of those things where the slightest mistake will have you off the road with either considerable damage or a considerable penalty, if not a DNF if you're unlucky. So fortune favours the brave, but at some point you have to ask yourself, how much are you willing to risk? And for our drivers, they will be looking at the championship and saying, well, I need to win every single rally, or I need to just be careful as B-Roy goes all the way up. He's got a puncture from that. He might have to stop and repair it because punctured tyre on the tarmac will be absolutely undrivable. But yeah, just locking the brakes into that tarmac section, very easy to do, and not being able to drive it through the corner, so went into the rocks on the outside, and yeah, he'll be looking forwards to getting a new set of tyres on the car. But there's another stage to go, so all of that damage will carry over for the moment.
Certainly will. Not the way that he'd want to try and progress through. We keep an eye on Ryan, who's decided to turn his lights off. I'm not quite
Got
sure.
radiator damage.
Is that where it's come from, potentially? Maybe he's had a smack to the front end?
He's had a crash. He's had a crash and he's got radiator damage. He's significantly behind on Vlembar's time here. Let me try and get a split. I think it was 3:44 was the split time. 3:30, so that's a 15-second swing for Vlembar at the moment. We could have another lead change here. I didn't really see where that happened. I was looking more towards RaceNet, it must be said. But the fact that he's driving without any lights would probably indicate that he's had more than just a moment in there.
Certainly does. I think that could be a greater hit or greater dash that we probably originally anticipated. But we are keeping an eye on. I'm sure we'll speak to Ryan a little bit later on to see quite exactly what did happen to him. I think there could definitely be a trip into the tree potentially.
Yes, indeed. As I'm trying to get some time updates. I don't think Ryan's Vlembar's time. I think just about to come through there for stage 5. So we'll have to wait and see. No, they're on stage 6. My apologies. They are on stage 6. And my brain not working well tonight. It appears. So Vlembar P20 on that stage. About 18 seconds off the lead. But Ryan... I have to scroll down quite a bit for Ryan, sadly. IRC JPH gained some time back on Ryan as well. And I'm still not finding Ryan's time. There, 78th place, 36 seconds. Which means that overall, Ryan tumbles down the leaderboard. And I think has been overtaken by Vlembar once again. So, Vlembar doing what he needs to do at the moment. And Ryan tumbles all the way down to the clutches of IRC JPH. So, 3 minutes 31 off the lead, 3 minutes 32.7 for JPH. So, what was a comfortable lead for Ryan, as I said, just swung around right there and then.
Well, it can happen that way sometimes in the cruelest of ways, and one minor mistake, one major mistake, they quite often do and tend to add up, especially when it comes to a rally like Portugal, where the stages are so thick and fast. Any minor mistake can quite often, well, as we said, combine together to really cause chaos for your run. Sorry, my English is starting to go, I think, as we go further into the evening.
Yep, indeed, we are trying to cause kale on the stream. It's a very, it's a very unique way of expressing ourselves, and one that I'm sure rally fans will appreciate because of the uniqueness of rally. But yeah, definitely, I think the road's also taking a toll on us in the commentary box, because there's so much to keep up with, and you're darting between the views because you know that at any point the drivers can make a mistake, so constantly you're having to look with the corner of your eye at the footage, and you know, it's oh, there we go. Well, as I say, encephalosis all the way over the banks, and that is how quickly it can happen. Yeah, so literally commentators cursed myself there. This is getting interesting.
Not the way that you'd want to try and run it, and encephalosis having issues as well, and really struggling to keep that car on the straight and narrow. And it's not the way that you'd be envisioning, as you can see the rain causing chaos with the cameras already. The trees are normally bad enough. I think the rain causing some further disturbance as he slides and drifts onto the green stuff, and that's not the way that you want to go about it either.
Yeah, very tricky, and also I want to say very lucky to recover that one. You know, you've got contrasting in driving styles, I must say, between Punju and Encephalosis that are really chucking it sideways, and people like JPH and Aerotech trying to keep it more calm and consistent, would you believe? Not what I expected from Aerotech, but he's definitely making it work. So, yeah, a little bit of a turnaround in the driving styles here, and I think that's just showing who's managed to find the grip and who's still, well, basically searching for it.
Absolutely. It's one that you've got to try and keep your wits about you, I think, in the nicest possible way, and try and, you know, just bear in mind and, you know, keep it I'm trying to think of the word, but the mental fatigue that we mentioned slightly earlier is the one that's really going to come into its own.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of drivers like Ancephalosis, Punju, in fact, all four that we have on the board right now, are. I don't want to say I've had problems in gravel events previously, but they tend to run a little bit better on tarmac, at least from my perspective. And so you've got this trepidation of such difficult conditions and a surface which you're not necessarily comfortable with, which just build into just a mixture of circumstances and of ingredients that create, well, chaos and kale indeed.
Yeah, chaos and kale, the two that go together more often than not, I've found, especially with upper class uni students. But we're moving swiftly on.
What have you been watching, Hell's Kitchen?
Well, occasionally I do enjoy a bit of Gordon Ramsay. I will say that I do enjoy red versus blue in the Tales of Vegas.
The stage is looking quite raw at the moment, I will admit, but a little bit too much water. You know, you need to remove a little bit, put a little bit more oil in there, I think, for it to be at perfect cooking stage for our drivers. There you go. All of the puns tonight. At least my brain's doing one thing correct.
Well, you can never outweigh the rule of funny. That's what I've come to learn over doing many commentaries. If all else fails, try and make some jokes about it, because generally that tends to be the one that comes together.
Yep, coming together, sadly, for our drivers, though, is a lot of rocks at the moment. And I thought Aerotech was going to have a huge moment there, just braking on the tarmac. You could see the car getting away from him, and he was just trail braking on the brakes. And I find very, very good skills from Aerotech, again, from the, I won't say drifting community, but he plays so many different games. He's just an all-round great driver, and what that means is he's prepared for that situation where the car steps away from him, and he's just recovering it smoothly, surely, and not really causing any drama there whatsoever. Yeah, as we've got JPH and indeed Aerotech into the same section of stage here, so interesting to see the different lines. And I think JPH once again going for a more conservative strategy, and especially after seeing the problems from Ryan, he'll be just wanting, or let's say hoping, that Ryan has more mistakes, has more problems. And indeed, I must say, if Lembar makes more mistakes, it could be an opportunity for JPH as well.
I think it certainly could be. There's an opportunity certainly lurking in the background for one to try and just nip it right in the bud right at the end. But, you know, we never quite know until we get to that power stage right at the end that, you know, who's going to be able to take this, because it can change on the flip of a hat.
You have to say, though, Lembar's pace last week in Pacifico was just exemplary, just on another planet. And so I think even with the mistake, his expectations are quite high in this rally. You know, it's crunch time. You have to start gaining points back. There's a gap of 24 points. So if there's any problems for any of the other drivers, you can mathematically take people out of the championship and get yourself in on the action. So it's one of those rallies where you've got a lot of risk, but also if it goes right, you are putting yourself in a great position for the last two events of the season, which are really, really difficult events. With Group B it's a tarmac rally. I've completely forgotten where it is exactly. I should have it here. It's Croatia. I have it right in front of me, and I'm not looking at my notes. There you go. And then Sardinia in WRC2. So one, for example, for Vlembar, that will be a rally that he will be looking to win by a country mile, put it that way.
Certainly will. We'll keep an eye, and obviously we've got, as you said, I think a few more to go in this season, and we're probably eagerly anticipating more news for the rest of more seasons, more news. Obviously, as it comes through, that will be on the tail of Mr. Punju himself. So I'm sure we will hear about it probably as soon as we possibly can. But I'm looking forward to hopefully another season, maybe another commentators round. I'd love to see in next season if it happens.
That would be a great thing to do, but the choices are very rarely appreciated by the drivers. For some reason,
I know.
We tend to choose some oddball stuff, would you believe? I mean, I don't know where we get the ideas from. And I don't know why I'm suggesting that the ideas might come from me, because that's definitely false. I never come up with any bad ideas. No,
not
definitely not.
It's shared responsibility is the way I like to call it, because we're a team. The commentary group is a team, and it's a team effort.
Remember, it's always Group B four-wheel drive in Corsica.
Yes.
That's always the commentator's choice. Just for good measure and good measure, Punju going straight into the fence on the outside at the end of the tarmac section. So a little bit of damage to bonnet flapping slightly in the wind, but not too bad. Must admit, I'm puzzled by Ancephalos's visibility here. I don't think he has the lights on, but he's got significantly less visibility than Punju, I'd say. So maybe it's just the settings, the camera settings or something from Punju's perspective. But, whoa, wow, what a good save. You could see the wheel just turning straight away to recover that, to make sure the car doesn't flip over. But he's lost time, but he's not lost any pride in that, in recovering. And very, very good save from Punju, as it looks like he's adjusting some settings on the wheel. I've seen him pause mid-stage quite a few times now, so is it perhaps that he's struggling with a lack of feedback or something?
I wonder if that could be. Being told he's clipping as well, so I wonder if that could be the issue that he's facing. Obviously, a technical term. I wonder if I was probably able to explain that more for the audience at home.
Oh,
okay.
We're getting information that he is using the clip feature on Twitch. So he's pressing a button to store the moment for his own content afterwards. This will be a highlight. My God, reverse 360. Oh yes, that is how you do it, like a champ. Nobody will say anything about. Oh, and from hero to zero, clipping the side of the road with the I don't want to call them Hinkelsteins because that's in Germany, but it's the exact same principle on the edge of the road there. No puncture from that. I don't want to say how lucky that is, but he's gotten away with that one pretty scot-free, but he will be frustrated with that.
He will be, and it's not the way that he likes to try and kind of develop into these sort of situations, but he has got ample opportunities still to try and push through to the end. That is not over and done with yet. There is still time until we hit the power stage.
Yeah, indeed. Still a lot of time and a lot of places where it can go wrong for our drivers. We're seeing many, many mistakes in these stages, which is... Oh, and as I say that, B-Roy is round again. I think he was already having the crash when I started talking about mistakes. But on that tarmac section, I think he might be missing a tyre on this one. It looks like the car is not handling at all very well. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's very struggle bus at the moment for B-Roy, as the car doesn't even seem to want to go in the straight line anymore.
Yeah, there's a distinctive tilt to how that car was almost crab-like, trying to make its way through the stage, but there is a considerable amount of time or distance left in the stage. I think the car went into a spin. I saw him try to correct it.
It has.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely some sort of damage there on that car, and you know, once you start spinning the tires up, it adds more tire wear to it, so you've got less tread to clear the water, and it's just a concertina effect. You know, you do one thing and it adds another and it adds another, and it gets progressively more and more difficult to stop the car from doing anything bad, and you're fighting against yourself at that point. As we've got Ancephalos's off as well near the end of the stage, so this one is looking to be a very, very difficult stage for our drivers, as they are losing quite a bit of time in here. I'm just going to try and check for some times, but yeah, our drivers are definitely pushing the limits now.
They certainly are. It's B-Roy pushing the limits slightly too much off in towards the overgrown hedgerows that he does find himself once again. The Ford Puma, I think, might have spent more time in amongst the trees than it has done on the correct area of the path this time. That's a corner cutting penalty. I don't think that car is in good shape at all, but he is just trying to nurse it home, or at least nurse it to a service stage, and you can see the frustration that he's expressing with the car. I don't think he's happy with something.
Yes, something not right, that's for sure. And I'm just looking at the times, and my days, Ryan's pace is incredible at the moment. Only 12 seconds off the lead on that stage, but crucially, nearly 8 seconds faster. And he's just got started on stage 8, as far as I can see. So all of our drivers completed stage 7 now. But yeah, Punju as well. P17 on that stage, the first of the Hyundais, if I am correct. So yeah, 15 seconds off. Another person that is now beating Vlembar on times, but is it too little too late? Vlembar has built himself quite a bit of a gap.
It could be. Oh, we're only halfway through, so it is still a tough call. Let's not rule out anyone quite yet, because obviously, you know, that power stage is going to be absolutely critical. 14.8 kilometers. They've got an almighty journey to come for that, obviously, service area just before it. They've got 8.5 minutes being the best time. Oh, sorry, 8 minutes 19 being the best time. So there is a lot of time to make or lose in that final run, with considerations that a lot of them before that are 5.5, 5.7, 11, and obviously we're on stage 8 now, which is 7.4. So that final stage is going to be critical.
Yeah, the gap is, as far as I can tell, it's 37 seconds between Flembar and Ryan at the moment, with RCJPH dropping back a little bit with those mistakes. So, yeah, it's definitely doable. And with that pace, I think Ryan's well, if no mistakes happen, which they will, it's Rally Portugal. But if the way it stands at the moment, with no mistakes, they will be neck and neck with each other on the power stage, which is a very interesting prospect.
Certainly is. One that we quite often don't see in Create Series Rally and Aerotech. Just using the track limits or the circuit limits, not as to his experience, and running slightly wide as maybe the tyres want to try and give up at the end of the stage. The rain and the wet weather really starting to, well, continuing to cause havoc for a few of our drivers as well. They're not quite as dialed in potentially as they would have liked. But it's a bit of an unknown sometimes when you come to wet weather in WRC, because you can have some grip in some places, other places the car feels like you're driving on ice.
Yeah, for sure. It's a bit like that in real life. Sometimes you get lucky and you come across some untouched gravel, but then you've got the mud, and so you start sliding. And generally, it can be a very good tactic to keep the car a little bit smoother, but if you're confident and you can push the limit, it can be equally as fast to drive sideways, and sometimes even more safe to keep the car sideways, so that any loss of traction, you can just put the car in the other direction and hopefully slow yourself down or make the next corner, one or the other, or maybe even both, would you believe? So, yeah, very, very tricky. But I think a lot of drivers suffering as well with that tarmac section, and suffering just with lack of feeling and consistency. We noticed, Punju just clawing at the wheel from time to time, just hoping to gain some traction. And yeah, it's not always working out. I think this is probably, at the moment, the most difficult rally of the season for our drivers.
I think it certainly is looking like that. The changeable weather conditions, but obviously just Portugal by itself is an incredibly, incredibly difficult rally to try and get correct. As I have been caught on camera looking absolutely everywhere on the screen for half a moment. I was looking up, down, left and right, checking all the monitors.
And I'm checking RaceNet on my phone because it refuses to open on my computer. So there you go. Both of us were not looking at the screen there with the transition, which is always a good sign.
It's normally Jam will give us a warning that he's going back to cameras, but there was no warning in that case, as you can probably tell.
Catching us by surprise.
I was looking around to try and see if there was anyone we could bring in for a brief interview that isn't on a stage at the moment. We have got a couple of people. I think just double checking that Ryan's not on a stage. From what I can see, doesn't look like it. So why don't we bring Ryan in and having a bit of a chat with him and see how his championship hopes might be going. Ryan, welcome in. First of all, looking like it's going not too bad for you out there at the moment. How are you feeling?
Not great, if I'm honest. Not happy. I got a double puncture on stage 5, I think it was. But thankfully, I had 2 spare tyres in the car. So when I got to the next stage, which it didn't do last time I was here, it actually put the car on, the tyres on. But that probably just cost me the chance of winning the rally, I think, that part, and just trying to gain as much time back on Vlembar as possible. I think the gap now is about 38 seconds. So, I mean, I don't think I'm going to win this now. So it's just probably going to cement second place now and maybe push for the power stage with the strategy that I'm going with, I think, with tyres. So we'll have to wait and see.
Lembar taking a different tire strategy with the softer compound at the start, and maybe having to compromise a little bit on the medium tires or the soft tires in the rainy sections now. So maybe there's an advantage to gain at the end for you. But in terms of times, I mean, you've been battling. Basically, doing ping pong, as the way I describe it, between yourself and Vlembar in terms of the times, apart from stage 5. So, is there a possibility to still put him under pressure?
It depends on how my strategy goes. So I obviously have gone opposite to what Vlembar's done. So I did 6 on the hards, and then I'm going to try and do 6 on the mediums for this one because the mediums seem to last a bit longer. And then have a fresh set of hards for the power stage so I can really full on attack that last power stage. So, I mean, Vlenbar just gained on me at about 1.5 seconds on the last stage. But, I mean, these ones I believe now are the newer content, which in the previous, the earlier stages when we had some concepts of them, I was quicker than him by quite some margin. So I think it's going to come down to if he makes a mistake, I need to take the initiative and just keep it on the track and not get any damage. So I've only just fixed the car now to be brand spanking new without any damage. Finally, it took me 3 services, but we got there in the end. So hopefully now with a fresh car and modest tyre wear, I have to really push it now for the next 2 stages and just pray Vlambar makes a mistake.
Very likely for them to make a mistake. Sorry, TK, just talking
No,
over there, you there a little bit. It's very common to make a mistake on Portugal. How difficult are you finding the stages?
Oh, very hard. As you well know, from the last time we were here, it made me depressed for a couple of days afterwards because was in a podium fight for my first one ever in Creator Series at the time. But knowing going into this, I was not looking forward to it. It's probably the weakest one on the calendar for me in terms of if it was any other car than the WRC with the hybrid, then I would be confident. But you've got to manage the hybrid so much around here because you get it in the weirdest of places. You're going to be falling off a cliff or nearly falling off a cliff, which I've had a few times on there. So, I mean, we'll see how we go. I mean, we've got, I think, 4 more stages to go, I believe. So I've just got to hope and pray Vlambar makes a mistake on at least one of the, maybe this stage or the next one, because I know the next 3 are very short stages and then there's a long power stage, which I'm not expecting him to make a mistake, but with these short ones, you never know. And I've just got to pray his tyres are not great with the strategy he's going with at the minute, so we'll have to wait and see. But for me now, priorities just keep second at the minute, but I'm not sure who's behind me at the minute, but I'm pretty sure it's JPH, but I don't know what the gap is between him, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to look backwards, not forwards, for the last 4 stages.
That's an interesting one to try and finish a rally off on. We wish you the best of luck, Ryan, and we hope to see you towards the end as well, just to give us a debrief of how the run went.
Yeah, no problem. Feel free to drag me in, as always.
Will do. Thank you so much, Ryan. Well, best of luck.
Thank you, TK. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Well, we'll drop Ryan back into the pool of the other creators as he gets ready to go for, I think we said the final 4, but I think there might be slightly off.
I think there's
unless
5 stages to go. Yeah. I think Ryan's wishing the end of the rally a little bit sooner than it is. But yeah, there's
4 normal and a power stage.
Okay, yeah, that's a logic. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that happening.
Makes sense.
No, I can see that making sense. So yeah, I think Ryan's got an opportunity. If Lembar is on the bad tire strategy, it will begin to show in the latter stages of this rally. And there's a little bit of optimism there that he knows the stages better, quite simply, so he can push a little bit more and have more confidence. Again, the start of the rally for him, although he made mistakes, he was very fast on the 2 opening stages, which are sections of FAF. So we're going back into those stages now, so you've got to really start pushing the limits. And for Ryan, I think it's not over yet. He might be looking backwards, but that can be somewhat how to put it, somewhat relaxing for you if you're making sure you're just going for a rally finish. As B-Roy is all the way off the track. Yeah, 30-second reset, big crash for B-Roy there. So he gets it all wrong into one of the junctions just after the famous FAF junction. So yeah, these stages are once again showing their teeth, as they say.
They certainly are, and they're bearing them invitingly, I think is probably the best way to do it. It seems like a rather tame entry as Punji fist bumps. He comes across the finish line with the checkered flag there for, I'm going to assume, the 5th or 4th. I've lost track of where all of our creators are, I'll be completely honest. I think maybe that is stage 9.
Quite possibly so. I'll take your word for it. That's the end of stage 9, I think, for at least Punju Villapulka. Yes, it is indeed. And he looks very, very happy with that time, as I'm going to go back to my phone to see if I can find his time. which is P19.
Roughly top
So
20, yeah.
yeah, really good. P19, you know, a lot of drivers not being able to keep the front-running pace, to be honest, as it looks like it's a Toyota domination of the wet stages, with very few Fords or Hyundais or indeed builder cars, apart from certain Vlembar getting himself into the mix. Yeah, it's kind of one of those rallies where you need supreme grip, and that is what the Toyota has.
Certainly has done, and I wonder if does that pay or continue on to when we see the end of the wet stages. I'm not sure if that's going to translate as much, but I'm guessing the benefit that they've gained from the wet stages kind of carries over to a certain degree.
I'd say the advantage of the Toyota is probably a little bit better in the rainy sections, because you've got more consistent grip with the drier stages, especially if you've got good tires on them. So yeah, looking at the dry stages, it's a real mix of cars, but the wet weather stages, especially the stages that, in heavy rain, have been just Toyota domination, a bit like during the actual real rally, apart from a certain Tanak. So, yeah, a lot of questions to be asked about the car setup, and once again, it's a bit of a compromise, I think. A lot of people going for the Ford for that stability, but paradoxically, that understeer might be getting them into more trouble than it's worth.
I think you're right in what you're saying, and it's a balance of how do you look after certain elements, but also how do you kind of protect yourself, I guess, going forward. Is that the right way of putting it? Do you have to pay the balance off?
Well, it's a bit like treating it like a sprint race versus endurance. You can be fastest on stage 1, but if you crash halfway through, there's no point, is there? And I think maybe going for the more, how to put it, consistent car is probably the better way to go for most drivers, because there's so many things to hit, so many ways to get damage and punctures that, as I think it was Ryan saying, even they're struggling to keep the car alive, basically. And if you start getting radiator damage, engine damage, it can be game over very quickly.
Yeah, I think you're right, and we've seen some of our creators have had damage. I think B-Roy had a considerable amount of radiator damage slightly earlier on in the runs, and that could be paying slight dividends and not helping in his favour. JPH runs up towards the Marshals. I think that was P17 from what I saw at the same one where Punju set a very respectable time as well. Look at the jump.
Crazy commitment, isn't it? It's always lovely seeing the amount of just bravery that you have to have over some of those jumps, because you have to calculate where you're going to land, and paradoxically the FAF jump is more severe in the other direction rather than the official direction, so you know, you get more airborne, so you've got to really check your pace. As Punju nearly going into the bank on the outside over the first FAF jump, and is now starting his descent into the very tricky end of stage, which is much more twisty and windy, and I think he'll just be happy to perhaps just get through this one and I think get some fresh tyres on the car, or maybe he's just going for the power stage, in which case he's going to have to continue with these worn tyres and just hope for the best. As you can see, there's a considerable amount of delay to the car turning and the wheel input, so those tyres are pretty much on their last legs at this point already.
See how it goes for a few of our creators. I think Punja on stage 10 now, so he's on the final run home, which I think he'll be rather optimistic and hopeful about. Most of these stages in the 2-3 minutes, back to, well, less wet conditions. It is still slightly damp, but not as bad as we saw a few stages ago, and they've got 3-5 kilometers, and then of course the power stage being another 14.8 kilometer beast for them to try and conquer.
Yeah, for sure. There's still a lot more trials and trepidations that they have to get through at the moment. If they think they've got a really sort of easy ride to the end, there is another thing coming for them. And I think JPH that looks like a dry stage to me. So is JPH on a different stage, or is it just maybe it's just the graphics settings? No, it does look like a wet stage now. But yeah, briefly, maybe the weather is different all of a sudden in a secret update. Who knows? Maybe it's just my eyes failing, which is also a possibility at this stage. But yeah, JPH definitely sending it a lot more now. Maybe he senses blood and wants that second place from Ryan.
think you're absolutely right. It's going to be not vengeance, but probably not quite at that degree of aptitude for all of our creators at the moment. They certainly will want to try and best out everyone as best they possibly can. Watching on board, plunging another massive jump for him, and that almost losing the rear end of the car, but holding it beautifully and using the bank just to correct the car as well.
Yeah, so one thing that you have to do, just correct the car and just hope that it sticks on the landing, because you have an opportunity to chuck it sideways. So you just need to do the jump straight and then hopefully recover it. As we got JPH into the Conforto, as it's called in Portuguese, the very famous roads junction, where they have they had Colin's flag and Craig Breen's tribute as well there. But in real life, they had tributes to Robert Kubica this year, actually, as well. And I think maybe Carlos Sainz, some Spanish driver anyway, tributed on there. So it changes every single year, the paintwork. But one thing for sure is that somebody, they don't particularly know who, but somebody every single year before the rally comes along with a paint can and refreshes everything at the middle of the night. And they don't particularly know who does it, but there's some committed fans that are more than happy to lay the tributes down on the tarmac, and I think that's a really great thing.
So what you're saying is somewhere in the WRC scene is essentially Rally Banksy.
Indeed, yes, and it's many times actually during the stage, because you've got Collins Rock as well. JPH has got the fast jump on. He's collided with the wall. I think he's got away with it, colliding once again. That was very, very lucky. The bank will be a little bit damage on the car, just pulling the bodywork a little bit, so there might be a little bit of aerodynamic imbalance. As you can see there, the wheels look a little bit pushed in from that. So I think there's a service after this one, so he'll be okay on that front. But again, risks that you don't particularly want to be taking. And JPH is even going to check the leaderboards for us. So they're 24th, as you can see. And he's now looking for Punju. So interestingly, he's looking backwards.
Maybe he knows something. Maybe they've been talking. Obviously, a lot of the creators do talk between the stages. So they probably had a rough idea of where everybody is in amongst the stages. But that's interesting to see actually on the leaderboard as well, where they all are squaring up.
Yep, just looking for the times. No time from Vlembar or Ryan, indeed, for the moment. So a little bit of question marks there. But yeah, I think JPH probably better to just do his own pace there, to be honest, because on such a technical rally, when driving to somebody else's pace, you just mess yourself up, as I said earlier. So a lot of technical work going into this, and I think a lot of people saving their tires for the power stage, which means that you're really, really up against it, basically. And as you can see there from Ryan's perspective, you've got Collins Rock just in the background there. The stage starts literally a few meters after Collins Rock. There's a huge Scottish flag painted on the rock, although that one is a bit worn and could do with a little bit more paint added to it to refresh it now. But in game it is very pristine. The tradition carries on, as they say.
Oh, that's lovely. I was going to ask, that was going to be my next question. Does that carry over to the game as well? Like, do we see Collins Rock? And that's really lovely that even little things like that transfer over to it.
Yeah, this is like one of the stages that is almost like a cult for rally fans. Like, if they didn't have those details in it, people would complain a huge amount. And I've even heard some complaints that, there's not enough fans on the road, and I can agree with that, but I appreciate the technical difficulties of literally recreating a stage which can have maybe 100,000 fans in it. Wow. On a good day, it can be just literally a festival of rally enjoyment and indeed of music. When we were driving through there at 4 or 5 a.m, it was already packed with people, and so it's very difficult to replicate that kind of intensity. But the details of the stage are very, very good. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I've certainly seen amazing things from what everything sort of bounced up to be, because there's clips that I've seen online, obviously going back a few years, of the gold generation, I think that some refer to it as. Obviously, you're driving through the streets and the fans and the crowd are so close to the drivers. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it is a rally for the people. Gone are the days in Group B where you could stand literally on the banks right next to the road. There's very famous photos of the FAF jump with like a Lancia 037 or Audi Quattro going over it. In fact, even video footage there. You can see oh, they have added the Spanish tribute there as well. So there you go. It is up to date. Maybe they have added that just as a little update that nobody noticed. But yeah, very faithful. Very, very good stuff. But yeah, it's one of those things where you just cannot imagine the amount of atmosphere in one stage, even at 4 in the morning, where probably nobody's had any sleep because they were up partying and drinking very interesting beverages, let's call it. That's the word that I can use on broadcast. And yeah, it's something like nothing other.
Certainly is. I kind of missed watching. Well, I can't say I missed watching it because I wasn't really around when the whole Group B thing. But just watching the videos almost makes me wish I was there to be able to experience that generation. But alas, we're in a new generation now. We head into is it 26 without the hybrid power units, back to raw unfiltered power from the engines, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's a downgrade. It makes the car more predictable. It makes the tires last longer, and obviously with the tire change in the Hankook taking over from Pirelli, it's one of those things that you lose a little bit and gain a little bit. Certainly, from the driver's perspective, the rally was a huge success because they didn't have that many punctures or tire problems linked to just rocks in the road. Any punctures they had were clear mistakes and impacts from the drivers. So, it was a great first demonstration of the upgraded Hankook tires. So, I think Rally's in a good place at the moment. That all hinges on whether Hyundai continues or not in any aspect. So, we're at crossroads here, basically, with Rally, but we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, the fans and spectators can't get as close as before, but it does mean that the drivers can push flat out because the spectators aren't standing on the apex.
What are the rumours or what are the speculations for what's going on with Hyundai leaving then? Is that something that was kind of rumoured, or they just not confirmed they're going to be in it for the next few years? Where's it sit on the rumour mill?
Well, a lot of it hinges around the regulations. There's a unconfirmed regulation change at the moment for 2020. Is it next year or 2027? There's conflicting information basically from all sides, and that is contributing to the fact that Hyundai wants the Rally 1 cars to continue, whereas the FIA don't. They want to change course because the manufacturers have not swarmed to Rally 1, and Hyundai doesn't want to put the money in. I can see why, to developing a new car for new regulations. So it's kind of a catch-22 really. You need to change the regulations to spice it up a little bit, but you'll possibly lose a manufacturer in doing that, and one that has been very committed to the cause of Rally and to the promotion of it. So very, very difficult times, basically.
And Ambient Mike said in the chat, more of the teams going to LMDH.
Yeah, so Hyundai basically could be dropping. This is speculation again. Could be dropping the Rally in an effort to put more of the effort towards the endurance racing team, which is confirmed to be going ahead next year with the Genesis brand in the south of France. I think they're going to be based out of. So there's a lot of rumours that a lot of engineers or mechanics are being transferred to that. The engine will be literally a modification of 2 Rally 1 engines amalgamated into one. So there's a lot of technology moving across from Rally into the world of endurance racing, but it does leave a question mark as to what Hyundai will do. Now, obviously, I said before, I tried to sort of get any info out of the PR guys at Hyundai, but it was hinted that maybe I wasn't too welcome after those questions. So I soon stopped that, let's put it that way.
Probably the best way to go about it. You don't want to overstay your welcome. That's probably the best way of looking at it, to be void of any other words. But we're keeping an eye on what's been going on our screens, just doing that brief exploratory conversation. We did see JPH roll the car ever so briefly, managed to get it back on all 4 wheels. We had, I think it was Punju come across the line to finish off either stage 11 or stage 12. My suggestion would be one of those two. They are incredibly short these last few runs. We now see Aerotech, Ancephalosis, JPH and B-Roy running through their respective stages.
Will admit I zoned out so much thinking about the regulations and about Hyundai that I didn't even notice that JPH had a problem as Ancephalosis is trying to get that corner cut. Oh, adding insult to injury as he was literally driving over the post, but it deemed that as a penalty. So just at the end of the stage as well, very disappointing. But yeah, I think we're seeing the driving taking a toll now with the endurance and with the concentration levels dropping down. And the stages do not relent. You have to keep pushing flat out. And for Ancephalosis, that is 29 seconds off the lead on that one, so a considerable time loss.
Not the way that you'd want to go about. So we've got 2 more stages to go after what they've just finished. We head to Passos as stage 12, and of course the power stage being 14 kilometres long, so considerably longer than this blast that we're seeing. B-Roy with a beautiful 360 there, managing to self-centre the car and get going once again. JPH crosses the checkered flag, and up towards the race marshals he will go. I think that is just himself finishing off Barbosa. So everyone's starting to make it towards the end. The end is in sight, folks. Don't go anywhere, because we are nearly there.
Yeah, and it will be time for that power stage, which everybody wants to win. And yeah, just looking at the stages here, it's Ponte de Lima is one of those stages, 14 kilometers. So it's going to require a lot of commitment to remain focused and to push the limits through 14 Ks. Maybe we might see some sort of saving, but if I know our drivers on Creator Series, they always want to get that last little victory in.
That they certainly do. We'll keep an eye on all of our creators as we progress our way through this evening's endeavours, because I, for one, cannot wait to see how they all handle the power stage.
Yeah, which isn't Faf. I'm a little bit disappointed that the Faf started with stage 1. You know, we've done. I think a lot of drivers would consider the power stage to be stage 1 on this one rather than the last stage. So maybe we've already seen the pushes. We have yet to figure it out. As Ryan there, that is obviously just a little bit of a freeze of the video, but it does get me worried every single time I don't see that footage moving. Has he had a mistake? It's one of those things where you have to really, now for Ryan, has to commit or save the car basically. He's running out of kilometers to do anything, and Vlembar seems to be just consistent.
That's the thing that Vlembar always has in his back pocket, is the consistency that he's shown. Not only tonight, but in rallies gone by and stages gone by. It's just always, unless there's a major mistake for himself, he's always there. And you never really know. He creeps up on you silently, but he's always in amongst that top field. And the moment you make a mistake, that's when you start to see him fly past in terms of timings. Not necessarily because he was the fastest over an individual stage, but just because he somehow is a master of consistency.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything, but after stage 10, the gap is down to 25 seconds. So,
Ooh.
yeah, Ryan was pretty downbeat, but optimistic about the next stages. I think we are seeing that literally playing out now on these new stages. He does seem to be more committed. He does seem to be able to, carry more apex speed, and that will add up time and also reduce tire wear because you're not braking and demanding a lot of acceleration from the tires. So, yeah, he could be in a really good position. Also, is Vlembar's tires going off? You know, are the tires just suffering from that strategy of going for the soft tires at the start? Or the mediums, I should say.
Well, that could be one of the suggestions that could be causing the issues and everything around that, because who knows quite exactly what's going on inside that car. He said he was going to go long on a set of tyres, so he's Punji having a few issues as well. But he said he was going to do, 8 stages on a set of the hards?
Yeah, it's I think it was he changed after stage 4 if I remember correctly, so maybe it is 8 stages. That's a long way to go on a set of hard tires, but for Vlembar it is possible. I think Vlembar is taking a few risks in this one, as the gap is now I think paradoxically, Vlembar has gained time on that stage to Ryan. No, he hasn't. No, Ryan, 5 seconds off. Vlembar, 11 seconds off. So another 5 seconds. It's not enough currently, but with that power stage being a long one, the game's still on, as they say.
Certainly is. Game well and truly to go. That power stage will be more than critical, I think, for all of our creators, but especially the top two that are still battling it out. This stage at the moment will be just almost a stalking horse to get to stage 13 and just make sure that they bring the car home in one piece. We're expecting times around 3 minutes pretty much dead on for the penultimate stage here. So keep an eye on the clocks as our creators do make it up towards the line. Punju here, I think, will be crossing any moment now. You can see the barrier across the screen.
Yeah, paradoxically, there's a lot of battles going on here. 28th place RCJPH after stage 11. And then you've got Punju in 33rd, only 10 seconds behind. Then you have Aerotech, which is another 16 seconds down the road. Up the road. So there's just a battle for the podium at the moment that's going on, and there's a battle for the lead. Couldn't ask for much more, in my opinion.
Absolutely. We'll keep an eye and see how it progresses. One more stage to go, folks. Hold on to your metaphorical hats and let us know in the live chats wherever you may be watching, whether that is Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and or YouTube. I had to get them all names out there for a moment. Let us know who you think is going to take it right at the end. Not only in the battle for the win out of our creators on screen, but of course who you think might take it in those individual battles that our creators seem to be having.
I think, honestly, Sebastian Ogier will win the rally.
Well,
couldn't resist doing that one. Could not resist. There you go. My brain is officially switched off, and I do apologise, but there you go. We're having all of the fun now, as B-Roy is having many problems now with 2 spins in what is about 5 corners, and I dare say I think the car has damage once again. Not really handling like I think he's expecting it to. So once again, people just trying to get the car to the finish, and with damage, it becomes a case of survival rather than pushing.
Certainly is. We'll keep an eye as we go through, and B-Roy not having the best of returns, but that was JPH coming up towards the master post just to start off the final runs. It's trying to keep track of who's where at this sort of moment when the stages are so short. There is ample opportunity for them to kind of jump 2 or 3 ahead sometimes. Obviously, we can't jump 2 ahead here being heading to the final stage, but it sometimes can be a bit difficult to keep track of who's where on what stage.
Yeah, for sure. A bit like in the world of real rally, you're always on a different timing, and for us also, we have drivers starting different stages rather than there being a road section. So it does keep us on our toes in the comms box, and that's part of our challenge in commentary, is just making sure that the timings are accurate. And nice commitment, by the way, here from Aerotech. Really good lines, and just opening up the corner mid-apex to try, and I think B-Roy is about to possibly... Please don't say... No, B-Roy is just getting to the end of the stage, but obviously not happy with something. Yeah, it's a bit frustrated, I think, with the car not doing what he wants it to do, and it's a tricky one. It's so tricky. Once you start losing that feeling, it normally doesn't come back on such a technical rally such as this.
Yeah, it would be an unfortunate way to kind of jump out with it, and the way that you wouldn't want necessarily to end the run either, because you've worked so hard for everything to kind of go through, and then as you as you try and progress through the twists and the turns that everything seems to be throwing at you, you kind of come home and you don't quite know what's hit you.
Must admit, B-Roy chooses the rallies to come back, doesn't he? Rally Portugal being one of the toughest, and he goes, yep, I'm doing it this week, which, you got to admire the courage of just saying, yep, we're doing that, but definitely in at the deep end, quite literally, I think, for this one. You got so many things that can go wrong. The weather, the tyre strategy. Oh, this is one of those rallies where you want to have that feeling and experience built up with the game, and with a few weeks away, that knowledge can become incredibly rusty, incredibly fast.
Certainly can, and we see Aerotech up towards the flag. 3 minutes 13 for himself. And Ryan not too far behind at all. So we're approaching the time for the power stage, 14 kilometers. We're expecting times roughly around the 8.5-minute mark for most of our creators, and they will be thankful, I think, to get to the end of this one. It's felt like in a bit of an eternity that we've been going in this rally here in Portugal.
Yeah, still waiting for Vlembar's time on stage 12. I do not appear to see it for the moment, despite my best effort. So Ryan with a very competitive time there, 11 seconds off the pace, which sounds like a lot, but on a rally like this, you have some of the top boys that are not involved in the Craner Series championship fight that are just fighting for the rally victory. So, yeah, still no time from Vlembar. I'm getting a little bit, question marks appearing now, seeing as Ryan has finished the stage. So we've lost footage from Vlembar, but I'm just trying to see what exactly is going on the leaderboards here. As I'm still checking, but not finding anything for the moment, which is very curious.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on, but I think we'll have. I'll see if we can. Is he in the chat still with some of the creators? That'd be the big tell normally. If
Vlembar is
there.
muted, but still in stage. I mean, he did mute. So, for context, our drivers mute their microphone and mute the sound in Discord so they're not distracted during the stage. And he's just unmuted now, so that must mean that I should be able to find his time somewhere.
We could just drag him in and ask. That could be another play that we have.
Yeah, I'm at a loss here. I'll be honest, I'm looking and looking.
Let's have a chat. And John, I'll let you lead it away with the question.
21 seconds. Yeah, I've just found Vlembar's time. 21 seconds down, so that's 10 seconds lost to Ryan. Vlembar, just a quick few questions. That Ryan's catching you quite fast. Is it battle on, or are you just maintaining the pace?
Yeah, the tires were just going like the last two stages. This stage especially, the rear was stepping out quite a lot, so yeah, wasn't optimal. But to be fair, he also changed up his strategy. He already switched tires after stage stage 10 into 11, so he's already on fresh tires. So he doesn't have any fresh for the power stage now, which is not the case for me. I do have fresh. I have fresh mediums, so if I don't make a mistake, I think I should have it safe. But yeah, like I said, I don't have to do a mistake, and that's not easy this year.
Yeah, it's been a tough rally for you. Did that builder car playing to your disadvantage a little bit, but I think maybe the rain helping a little bit to maintain its competitiveness.
I have to say, the car in combination with the hard tires didn't feel bad in the rain. I was expecting to have no grip with the hard tires, also because everyone else used the mediums, which seemed to be the better tire for that conditions. But yeah, like wasn't bad. It was quite good actually, and I could keep up the pace there. Yeah, it did go now, but yeah, I did 8 stages on them, so it was expected. And yeah, I think if Ryan wouldn't have changed earlier, I don't think he would have gained that much time on me now. But yeah, it is what it is now. It's I think 11 seconds now, the gap. So yeah, if I just keep it safe, it should be fine.
That could be the way of doing it. We will. I won't delay you heading onto the final stage any much longer. We'll let you go on, enjoy, and best of luck for it.
Thank you. Enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Leber. Well,
Grand Slam finish.
A Grand Slam finish, I think, is definitely the words that will be used this afternoon. And Ancephalosis, maybe not sharing the same sentiments as he's found the trees for the numerous time this evening.
Yeah, B-Roy also getting all crossed up as well. He really does not like this tarmac section. Every single time I've seen him on the tarmac, he's made a mistake and just got everything crossed up. So, yeah, a very, very tricky stage, this one, because you're going flat out downhill for most of the well, first part of it at least, is B-Roy. Huge tank slapper in there as he just clips the barrier a little bit to help him maintain the car on the road. But yeah, I think we'll see a lot of drivers here just not necessarily wanting to push, but just finding themselves in situations where they're being optimistic without even knowing it, if that makes sense. You know, where you think you'll have the grip, you think you know the course and you know what you're doing, and just as we're seeing for B-Roy, it's one of those things where you overestimate how much rotation you've got in the car, and it just starts compounding because you feel like you should have the grip, and yet the feedback that you're getting is that you don't, and you're struggling to correlate that as B-Roy off the stage for the third time with Ancephalosis off as well. Just chaos in this power stage.
Yeah, no one seems to be able to find the traction or the grip, and the car, as you were saying, doesn't seem to correlate to what you're expecting to have as a result of it. And that can often be quite unsettling as a driver, especially if you're kind of going into a stage going, this is what I'm expecting to have as a feedback from the wheel and from everything that I've got to get feedback from. The moment that doesn't add up, something in your brain doesn't click right, because it almost throws it into a state of kind of not panic, but maybe a bit of an emergency where you go, these things aren't adding up, but it should be adding up.
Yeah, it just leads you to overcorrecting, basically. It leads to sawing at the wheel, as I like to call it, where you're just constantly flicking the wheel left to right to try and find some indication of the grip. And the problem is, on a rally like this, that ends up unsettling the car. And as soon as you start doing that, you're not getting optimal grip, you're wearing the tyres out, you're giving yourself more opportunities to get damage and stuff. So it can have really, again, as I've been saying, a compounding issue. Punju off the road as well. Ancephalosis just getting it stopped in time for the junction. So we've got a lot of drivers finding the limits here, not necessarily in the way they intended.
Yeah, it hasn't been the best run for a few of them, and Punji there, I think he just tried to take a corner with a little bit too much excess speed, clipped the outside of the cliff face on the left-hand side. That really unsettled the car, and once again it was nose down moment towards the road just in front of him. JPH just crossing over the halfway mark in this final stage, I think that is, at least well, just over halfway stage as he crosses the 5-minute mark. So all of them on for roughly similar times by the look of it.
Yeah, at the moment, paradoxically, with the mistakes, that has sort of compressed the field a little bit in this stage. Some of the faster drivers making a few mistakes, and you know, the outlier probably is JPH, who's doing a very consistent run for the moment. I can't wait to find out how I've just commentators cursed him. But yeah, it seems like he's just doing what is necessary. Typical JPH fashion, which is a good thing in my perspective. But he's just trying to profit from other people's mistakes, and it's meant that he's got a very consistent place in the championship. But paradoxically, that also means that he's not challenging the front many times.
Absolutely, I think he'd have been hoping for maybe a little bit more, but then when you go into the strategy in that sort of environment where you're wanting to try and collect the scraps essentially from other people's mistakes, you've also got to bear in mind if they don't make those mistakes, then you have no scraps to collect, and you sacrifice one arm to save an element, haven't you?
Yep, all B-Roy reset penalty there, just rolling, and I think collecting a spectator. And oh, rolling again! Double roll! My god, colliding with the apex on both apexes of that corner. I can't quite believe it. But yeah, lightning does strike twice for B-Roy. In fact, it's struck like 6 different times now in this stage. He's definitely not having the time of his life on this power stage, and I think it might be safe to say that there won't be any power stage points for B-Roy in this one, which is a bit sad, as he's done very well to maintain his commitment to the rally and getting to the end.
Absolutely. He's always one to finish off what he started, and even if he's not necessarily the fastest overall, he has a level of commitment and dedication that is quite often unmatched for quite a few drivers. I watch B-Roy in the evenings or sometimes late mornings, depending on what time I wake up, but he's a really lovely guy to watch stream, and I say this about pretty much all of our creators as well, because they all are fantastic people to go and sit and stream. But B-Roy is just one of those people that will make you laugh, will make you smile, because he just has the time of his life when he does this.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things where you feel the passion for rally driving such challenging stages, and I
Them
think
on
a
the
lot
same.
of our yeah, mistake for Vlembar there. Just seeing it. I think there's a little bit of a delay on my end from the footage. But yeah, Vlembar just getting it wrong into the losing 2 or 3 seconds. I think with fresh tires he shouldn't be in trouble. But I will look for a little bit of a marker where I can judge their pace for the moment. So yeah, Ryan. I mean, it's very difficult to judge because I'm going to have to take some sort of timer. So 3:07 on the apex of the first hairpin there. Let's see what Ryan's time is. It's looking like it's going to be pretty close. Ryan has, what is it, 11 seconds. Ryan off the road into a tree. That might be game over for Ryan. Radiator damage and quite considerable damage there as well. He is going to lose out in terms of pace. 3:05 has already passed and he is not at the hairpin yet.
Not at all, and I think that could have been any hope that he would have had for this evening gone down the drain. I think it would have been close anyway between the two of them. If you look at the progression on the respective kind of linear maps on the left-hand side, Vlemba was considerably ahead. Was this the moment here that was 3:07? So doing some maths in my head, about
20 seconds
seconds
lost.
Yeah,
Yeah,
18,
about
20
18,
seconds.
20 seconds, I agree, yeah. It's, yeah, well, he needs that gap, but the other way, basically. If Vlembar doesn't get a puncture or something very soon, it's going to go Vlembar's way, as B-Roy determines to finish the rally on 2 wheels, it must be said. So, bold strategy. I'm not sure that's the one to do, but then again, if your tires are worn, there's not much difference in terms of grip. As we can see, Aerotech as well, just navigating the tarmac section, tiptoeing through, because the tires just do not... As Ryan off the road, once again, having to avoid rocks. So it's all happening on this stage and not in Ryan's favour, it must be said.
I think this is where the fresh tyres of Lembar really have actually played into his element. Obviously, he went long on the set of hards, just managed the tyres to the utmost discretion, and now he's got fresh mediums to push on the power stage. But I don't think he's pushing as much as he could possibly. He's probably sat at 80-90%, but he knows that in his tank, he has the option to push more if Ryan pulled out a blinder.
Yeah, for sure. Ryan, they won't know the times as B-Roy goes off the road again. It's been a terrible power stage for B-Roy. Yeah, I think definitely Ryan had to put the pressure on Vlembar, and Vlembar won't know that Ryan has made the mistake, so Vlembar has to keep pushing here as well. But yeah, Ryan... I think out of the running really now, because the damage on that car will compound as well as they head into a night scenery to finish as well. So the light fading, and Ryan might run out of lights toward the end of the stage as well. As Aerotech's off the road for good measure as well. Everybody going for a trip into the foliage apart from Vlembar.
Absolutely, it's an interesting spectacle, and I'm loving how all of our creators are handling it. Aerotech comes up. Just about to finish off his run. B-Roy not far behind. I think B-Roy will be very thankful to see the marshals at the end of this run. The nighttime seems to have caused havoc for a few of our creators as well. And I think with 2 wheels on that car, we'll be begging and praying that he gets to go home for a nice warm shower.
Yeah, for sure. There'll be a lot of drivers that are praying to just reach the end of this stage, call it a day, and then they're reminded that they have Group B rear-wheel drive in Croatia next week. So that optimism of finishing the rally will not last very long when they realise what they got to do. Yeah, a very, very tricky one next week as well. So the end of this season is actually going to be 3 tricky rallies. We've got Portugal here, we have Croatia next one, and then Italy, Sardinia as the finale. So a lot of technical rallies here as we've got head-to-heads. Yeah, I think Ryan's already accepted that it's not going to be his day. A gallant push, it must be said. Oh, Vlembar, big crash from Vlembar. I don't think there's much damage on the car, but he's gotten away with it. I'd say that's quite lucky. Just clipping the post, I think, on the outside. No puncture at the moment. So just with 1 sector to go, can Vlembar get it to the finish line? He won't know necessarily that Ryan will have made the mistakes, but that might put some pressure on Vlembar.
Say, for all Vlembar knows, Ryan's had a perfect run at the moment, so this could be some pressure on the driver that's currently leading the rally. If he makes another major mistake or a minor mistake, well, I say that as Ryan makes another one, I think that could be game, set, and match for Vlembar, unless anything absolutely mega happens. Ryan's still having issues as that bonnet comes flying off. And this is the moment, I think, where Vlembar made a mistake just a couple of moments ago. Yeah, everyone looks to have settled down again. But Vlembar seems to have gone back up to his 90 to 100% state. He's pushing.
Yeah, I think Vlembar has a choice in this stage, but he doesn't know it. I think he's also Ryan off the stage once again. So yeah, this is going to be disaster for Ryan. In fact, with this amount of mistakes, he might actually lose a position here. I have to check the leaderboards after stage 12 because if I remember correctly, JPH was less than a minute away. So if the time is fading that fast, it could be game over. Yeah. It's about, I'd say, 30 seconds. So Ryan has about 30 seconds to play with, but that is going to be oh so close.
It's looking incredibly close for all of our drivers. Vlembar will come up towards the end of the stage and not know how he currently lines up against Ryan. Of course, there's a bit of a delay, I think, between streams, and that's another spin for Ryan L. As he crests the top of the hill. The car sent spinning once again, and that could kiss goodbye, I think, to any hopes and dreams that he would have had of winning the stage, let alone the rally overall. Vlembar now up towards the checkered flag, comes across at an 8-minute 40.
Yeah, that is, I wouldn't say perfect rally from Vlembar, but enough to gain points, serious points, for that championship charge. And that's going to be a run in the top 10 that is going to be very difficult to beat on the power stage, only 21 seconds off of the lead. You can see the time differences from P1 to P2 there, 10 seconds. It's been a domination from Mehuyane on this rally overall, but in the Crater Series, Vlembar is dominating once again, like last week.
Certainly is, and we'll be reminiscing in memories gone by of fond rallies that he's had over the last couple of weeks. I think a few creators could be well and truly on his back for the final 2 rounds of the season, hoping to try and put even a little more pressure, and that is a face of Ryan that you don't often see. I think that is defeat personified.
Yeah, I think he's gone across the line. Okay, he has crossed the line, but 9:17. It's going to be incredibly close. I am trying to get an update on JPH's time. RC JPH, 5 seconds in it in Ryan's favour, so he does just enough to retain it, but it was oh so close. He nearly threw away the P2 there. That was lucky for Ryan's perspective, but oh so annoying from JPH's perspective after the minor incidents and rolls and lost time that he's had. I think he'll be quite frustrated with that one, but then again, a provisional podium.
Provisional podium indeed. Punju finishes in P30 overall, just behind JPH. Aerotech 35th. I'm just trying to get the last few creators as they come up.
And Cephalosis P52. Yeah, just scrolling the leaderboards as well as RaceNet has decided to reappear on my PC, which is good for when the last stage is over.
It has to work at some point in the evening. I think that's the rule of law, unfortunately. I can't see anybody else. I think potentially still a couple to come across the line. B-Roy 126th, just further down as well. So a fantastic result from all of our drivers. Close fought race till the end there, which is what exactly we want to see.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the themes that we've said all the time is keeping it consistent. And for the podium drivers, paradoxically, it wasn't consistent, but it was fast. So completely different logic there going into the rally, and I think just the weather having an effect on that. Every time Rally Portugal is a wet weather rally, it brings out chaos, and we definitely had our fair share of that. And I think a lot of drivers of hope will hope that all of the bad luck has ended now until the end of the season.
Fingers crossed for a few of them. I think I've got time for a couple of interviews before I unfortunately have to have a rather skittish exit this evening. But I'll let you pick our first interviewee. There's a couple of drivers that you haven't had the opportunity to speak to tonight, so I'll let you have first pick here, John.
It might be good to speak to perhaps Aerotech and perhaps maybe to Mr. Punju, just to ask him why FAF is the not the last stage, let's put it that way. So first of all, for Mr. Aerotech, a bit of a, how to put it, inconsistent rally for everybody, I think is the best way to say, but you certainly looked like the car was, you were handling the car very well. So are you happy with the result? Are you a little bit annoyed that you couldn't get your name further up the leaderboard?
I mean, I knew this was gonna suck for me. Even doing practice last night, I was like, "There's no way. There's absolutely no way." The FAF-based stages I was good at, and unfortunately, I don't know what. I guess because I'd done all my practice and time trials on those, and then we're on hards to start the rally. So immediately I rolled over, and I think I sat there and wasted 5 seconds just sitting there on my roof in disbelief. So that's not good. And then where I expected to struggle, I struggled. Thanks to Ryan, I changed up my tire strategy a little bit. I ended up going on the mediums in the rain, thinking the little bit of extra grip would help. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I don't know. But it was just a really kind of crummy day for me mentally. I'd make a mistake and then just like whine about it for 5 kilometers. I wasn't really good at coming back like I am sometimes because I knew there was more coming. I think just I got lucky today with everybody else having issues. Like obviously I wasn't the only one. I was saying too, like you see me and Encephalosis with decent times, but we both had 10-second penalties. So if that doesn't say how tough this rally is, especially the pre-DLC stages are very, very difficult, and being in a car with hybrid and all this power and all this speed just makes it worse. So I'm upset in the sense that if I had done 2 days of prep like I wanted to, maybe we could have been a top 20, but to salvage a 33rd, and if you watch my VOD back, I was pissed at the end of every single stage. I was upset. I was like, nope, this was horrible. I did a terrible job, like constantly off circuit, or I was going too slow or whatever. To be 33rd at the end of that, I think I can't be too upset, but like, oh, it was a long day. It was a really long day.
It certainly seemed. I mean, the rally this afternoon, I think, had a mix of everything: night, day, dry, wet. It was a real battle, not only of the senses, but potentially a bit of mental fatigue as well. Just looking ahead to the last 2 rounds of the season, obviously Croatia in the Group B next week, which I think will be an absolutely insane round, and Italy, WRC to finish it off as well. How are you feeling about those?
I needed to survive Pacifico in this to have a chance. Realistically, or not realistically, but historically on tarmac, I've done very well. Iberia was a incredible round for me, and then shout out to the Sim Race Online League. We had a top 5 finish in WRC2 in Iberia. Obviously, I don't know Croatia quite as well, but another area where I seem to be pretty handy compared to the general player base is in rear-wheel drive. So I've been expecting this rally to go well. I'm going to put some work in this week. And I think WRC2 would have been a better fit here. Punju, Koff, Ahem, with how technical and definitely well designed. I'm not mad about it at all stages, but I'm stoked to get in the Yaris or the Skoda or whatever we end up driving. WRC2 is like one of my favorite classes in the game. So I don't know Sardinia too well, but it doesn't mean I can't learn it. So I think that with these last 2 stages, I think a lot of the scary rallies are out of the way now. All of them are in the books, and I don't necessarily go for creator points. There's like, I'm in kind of like my own little world here in the middle, but I just wanted to stay top 20. I haven't finished top 20 in overall points, and we beat a lot of people in that top 20 today. I think a lot of people had rough days. So if we can just, my goal was just to hang on and make it to the last 2 rallies, and then we can start pushing for PBs and that kind of stuff. So Croatia especially I'm going to try my absolute heart out, and then hopefully that sets us up well for the last round in Sardinia.
Amazing stuff. John, anything further for Aerotech before we let him enjoy the rest of his afternoon?
Honestly, I think Aerotech just explained everything, really. Well thought out answer. So yeah, nothing to add, to be fair.
I've been preparing for this interview for 48 hours, because if I did not, I would have said something I would have regretted. So, I don't like this rally at all. I don't know how you guys do it, man. Like, oh, cool, that was cool. I really don't. I don't know how. Like it's just such a memory-heavy rally. Like you're over a crest, and then there's 5 corners, and if you're not braking before the crest, and there's nothing in the pace notes that says like, "Hey, you might want to do that." So if you're flying off pace notes, you're just like in the back foot. It's super frustrating to know. Like if I knew that corner was coming up, or if I knew that complex of 8 corners was on the other end of this jump that the game didn't tell me about. I don't know which intern did the pace notes here, but clearly it was 20 minutes before happy hour started. I got a bone to pick with you.
On that bombshell.
Am I wrong?
That's the best description of pace notes I've ever heard.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, Erotech, as always, to chat to you, and such an uplifting vibe. It's great. Congratulations for tonight. Best of luck for the next.
I will not be silenced. Speak my truth. All right, I'll shut up. Thanks, guys.
Erotech. Catch you next week, buddy.
That was one of the most animated interviews we've ever had there.
Yeah,
A lot
quite
to
possibly.
say on the subject of pace notes. Obviously, it will always be a personal preference of the drivers, but yes, I can say that sometimes you are left a little bit in the dark, no pun intended, in some of these stages.
Well, speaking of puns and pun Jews, it looks like the young man has escaped questioning as he's
Indeed.
disappeared from the creative VC, so we won't get the opportunity to question him over why he put or he didn't put Faf as the power stage. Maybe next week we'll ambush him and try and make him think back a week and answer for his crimes. But we'll sub in a replacement because I think it's only fair that we chat to at least two people at the end. You've got an almighty list there. I think we've spoken to Vlembar already. I'll let you have a second pick.
I think we spoke to Ryan, so it's a choice between JPH and Ancephalosis. I'd have to say JPH because it's still a provisional podium, so might be a good idea. Hello, Mr. JPH. Hopefully you can hear us. Quite a good rally, a bit inconsistency like everybody, I must say, tonight. Such a difficult rally with the stages and indeed the weather, but the pace was good and he managed to salvage a good result out of it.
Evening. Yeah, I mean, there's a story behind the inconsistency is that I was running a completely stock setup for the evening. So yeah, didn't touch anything on the setup, just went, right, that's the car, let's go. So in a few of the latter stages where the tyres started to get worn, you could definitely tell the car had no setup. It didn't quite have the same sort of had
Bites
more
to it.
grip. Yeah, it had a bit more grip loss in comparison to what you get with the setup. So that was interesting, but yeah, overall, really happy with it. Like I say, I can't complain. It's with the stock setup, the pace was good, and the final stage was just delightful to drive, shall we say? After ripping the spare out of the boots, yeah, I can't complain. It was a tough event, as we saw with attrition, but ultimately that's part of rallying and part of the excitement of it.
Absolutely, and there was a moment there where it looked almost close between yourself and Ryan. Obviously, Ryan was having a considerable number of mistakes in the power stage that almost led to a point where you were going to catch up and take him for second on the podium. Were you aware of how close it was heading into that final, or was that kind of a unbeknown kind of benefit towards the end?
No, I don't know exactly how close it was. I mean, I know he lost a lot of time. I mean, he was I was close to him sort of mid rally, and then I just started seeing him pulling away. Obviously, a Twitter with a setup is such a good car, just in general. But yeah, as far as I was concerned, he was gone. He was pulled away. I was more worried about Punju behind, to be honest, making sure he didn't catch me up. But yeah, and then I saw the times at the end. That once Ryan done his run, I was like, he's had a bit of a rough run. It was 5 seconds in it, so very, very, very close. But and I guess that's kind of sort of a nice thing with this staggered sort of starts you got, like in real life. You never really know quite where you stand until everyone's crossed the final finish line.
Yeah, not like an enduro rally, and it definitely was an endurance for everybody. I think today the rally has caught us by surprise with its difficulty and with the amount of things that have happened. So yeah, you taking the confidence into Croatia and to Sardinia.
Looking forward to Croatia. I already know the car I'm taking, and everyone thinks I'm absolutely mad for it. Porsche 911 is going to come out of the garage for that one. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And Sardinia, there's a small surprise for Sardinia, which I'm going to leave a surprise until we get there. So it's going to be quite a fun. That's going to be a really fun event, just in a content perspective.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, very much so.
I might tell you afterwards, but not quite here. We'll leave it a surprise for everyone.
Okay. Well, JVH, it's been a pleasure to have you on this week. It was so close to second place, at least provisionally P3 at the moment. I don't know whether Isa's planning on doing a run this evening. Obviously, be feeling a little bit under the weather. The shake of the head, I think, confirms
I'm gonna do what's called a recce, which is like a drive-through, and try and score maybe 3 points. If I can get more than 1 point out of this rally, it's gonna be a miracle. I tried, for context, earlier the start of FAF. And I did 2 corners, crashed 15 times, and basically gave up earlier. So we'll have to wait and see.
That's right. Give it 3 hours. We'll have a look, and Isa will be at the top. It'd be fine.
Maybe at the top, yeah.
That's not going to happen this week. I can guarantee you that. If I finish the rally, it's a miracle, especially with the rain and night.
Just before we let you go, JPH, Scotty's Design says he loves you, so I thought I'd pass on that message from Twitch chat. He says you guys go way back. I'm not sure how much to trust from Scotty, but alas, message passed.
Me and Scotty raced on F1 before and stuff like that. So it's always good to hear from Scotty.
Amazing stuff. Pleasure to have you on as always, mate, and I'm sure we'll catch you same time next week.
Brilliant. Thanks for the commentary, guys.
Thank you so much. Well, that does bring us to the end of our broadcast here. We finally made it to the end of Portugal. I think a few of our creators will be very happy with that fact as well. John, where can they check you out if they want to do so just a little bit more?
Well, apparently they can check me out on the channel Sick Music. Okay, moving on. It's amusing. Where you can occasionally find me at Rally Portugal and maybe other rallies, but usually at home doing some broadcasts where I'm crashing into virtual trees instead of real ones. Yeah, that's kind of become my only brand at this point. Maybe I need to change that up.
Nah, tree hugging is the best form of hugging. We'll keep the tradition going, at least for the end of this game. If you want to check out any of the Create It series socials, they're just above our heads. We've got the new YouTube channel, which was intended to be the home of everything WRC. However long that carries on for, we will wait with bated breath, I think. But that is at WRC Creator Series. The others, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at F1 Creator Series. Go check them out. Give them a follow as well. Jam ONG has been our wonderful producer behind the scenes this evening. Go check him out. He does some fantastic Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I believe he's a bit of a DJ in his free time as well. So yeah, a good channel to go check out. As for myself, I'm at They Call Me TK on pretty much every single social media. But until we see you next time out for the next rally on a Monday evening, from all of us here at the Creator Series, it's good night and God bless.